Please be seated. Good evening, everyone. I would like to welcome you all to this Council Assembly meeting. I'm Councillor Naima Ali, the Mayor of Southwark Council and the Chair of this meeting. There are no planned fire alarm testing this evening. If you hear fire alarm, please leave by the nearest fire exit and make your way to the agreed assembly point, which is St. John's Churchyard off Dread Street. Council security staff will be available to direct you. The toilets are located to the side of the room on my right and off the main reception area. Please, can you switch your mobile phone to silent? And thank you for your cooperation. I have received apologies for absence from Councillor Susan Abacho, Eli Kombo, Natasha Enin, Kezia Harper, Yusuf Hussain, Adam Hood, Laura Johnson, Richard Lemon, Barry Hargrove, Sam Fosters, and John Hartley. Are there any other apologies? None. Thank you. We are now moving to item 1.2, announcement from the mayor, members of the cabinet or the chief executive. There are no announcements tonight. Oh, sorry, there is an announcement from Councillor Evelyn Akocha.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I am happy to announce our groundbreaking efforts to radically enhance our sexual health services to strengthen provision and accessibility within the borough. We have worked extremely hard to increase STI testing and treatment and targeted support for marginalized groups within the borough. But yet we know there's more to do. We have faced a decade-long cuts to our public health budget under the last Conservative government, and this created a perfect storm of increased demand for services, but no fiscal room to do anything about it. As of 2023, the STI diagnosis in Southwark was higher than that of London, and we now have the third highest STI rates across all London boroughs. I'm not sure about you, but this is not a stat that I want to retain. So thanks to the Mayor of London's funding of free school meals and the increased funding in public health by our Labour government, we are able to release some funding to redouble our efforts in this area. So I am pleased to announce that we will be investing an additional £1 million recurring into sexual and reproductive health service within the borough. I think this is really important for us to be able to ensure that we're supporting our residents in all aspects of their health. So we will be consulting with our residents, making sure that we provide what they need, and then we will develop a high quality offer which improves provision for all our residents, with particular interest over LGBTQ community and our Black and ethnic minority community, because it's well documented that these communities have unmet needs and basically do have poor outcomes. And I think this signifies our commitment to ensure that our residents are getting the support and access to services when they're needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Kieran William.
Make one short announcement as well, a very practical one. We have just, as of tomorrow, we'll be relaunching the Back the Bakerloo line campaign. So I urge all councillors across the floor to get involved in that. It has been one of the most popular projects across our whole city. We already have 25,000 people across London who backed the project. I've personally met with the Mayor of London to discuss it, and on Monday I met with the Transport Minister as well to secure their support. There is more to do to win that argument, I will admit, but we're making fantastic progress. So I just urge you all to encourage residents across the board to do that. And while I have the floor, I just want to say just one other thing, Madam Mayor. As always, I want to welcome all members of the gallery who are here this evening as residents, but in particular, I would like to welcome former Lib Dem councillor William Humbo who is with us this evening, and welcome him to the Labour Party, because William is today joining the Labour Party. We are a party that works hard to represent everyone in our community, and I'm delighted to have another member supporting that cause. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. As you may notice, I've got my deputy mayor here sitting with me. Yeah, it's kind of my last assembly that I will be sharing. Thank you. That sounds so good. Anyway, but I'm still around anyway. Thank you so much. Yeah, let's go move on now. On Monday, I met with a group of whip to consider the format of this evening's meeting. This is set out in the program motion, which has been tabled this evening. The motion explains how this evening business will be conducted. The meeting now needs to vote upon the motion. I would like to move to the vote of the program motion. Those in favor of the program motion. Thank you. The program motion. Oh, sorry. Is there anyone who is against? Any abstention? All right, the program motion is carried. Please note that as per program motion, the following community evidences will be received tonight, and they will have 4 minutes each to speak. Tel Ties, Trevor Austin, Leona Rose, and Latin Elephant. The following deputation will be received tonight, and they will have 5 minutes to speak. Shape, Southwark Housing and Planning Emergency. Members have agreed the program motion, and I shall be moving the meeting on accordingly, and members are asked to keep to the agreed timing. And I repeat that, keep your agreed timing. Thank you. The clerk will now explain what other papers have been circulated.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, Council Assembly. The following papers have been circulated for this meeting. The agenda papers that were circulated within the statutory time frame of 7 working days before this meeting. The open supplemental agenda, which has the public questions and community evidence requests, deputation requests, and also the amendments to motions and reports. The following papers have been circulated by email and have also been tabled at tonight's meeting. Members' questions and responses, late question and response, response to the public question, and the program motion. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Now we are moving to item 1.4, disclosure of interest and dispensation. Do any members wish to make any declaration of interest? When making your declaration, can you please specify if it is a disclosable pecuniary interest, and please state the nature of the interest.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a disclosable pecuniary interest with regard to motion 4 and amendment D on motion 4, because I'm employed by Unison as Unison's social care lead. Thank you.
I also have a disclosable pecuniary interest on motion 4 because my partner is employed by Unison. I also think that motion 3 calls for a national care service, which is what Unison have called for. So I suspect we have one on that as well.
Anyone else? No. Any members who declares a declarable pecuniary interest in an item will be asked to leave the meeting for that item. When the item has been voted on, they will be welcome to return to the meeting. We are now moving to item 1.5 minutes. Can we approve the minutes of the ordinary and extraordinary meeting of Council Assembly held on 25th February 2025 as a correct record? Thank you. As part of the program motion, it was agreed that the meeting should finish at 10 p.m. We are now moving to item 2.1, petition. We shall move on to an issue raised by the public. For today, there are no petitions this evening. There is one question from the public this evening. The answer to the question has been circulated by email and is available on the council website. There is up to 15 minutes available for public question time. Public questioners have the opportunity to ask a supplemental question, not to make a speech. I now invite Clive Reid to ask a supplemental question of Councillor John Batterson, Cabinet Member for Climate, Emergency, Jobs and Businesses.
Many thanks, Mayor, and thanks to Councillor Batterson for your considered response to my question. Of course, the difficult national backdrop you refer to is a genuine challenge for businesses in Dulwich, as elsewhere. However, the particularly steep decline in recent decline in footfall in Dulwich Village does suggest that local factors are at play, are also responsible, especially the difficulties customers are facing accessing businesses due to changes in road layouts and parking provision. Given the importance of these businesses to the local community, will you, as Cabinet Member for Business, commit to meeting with local business owners and residents in Dulwich Village by April at the latest to hear firsthand their concerns and discuss practical steps to support them?
Thank you very much for your question, first of all. Like you said, we've got a strong local business economy here in Southwark, and it's all of our responsibilities to support them, especially when we look at our high streets and town centres. In the response, I've mentioned some of the challenges that we know all businesses are facing, not just here in Southwark, but across London and the country. They include our shopping habits moving further online, a trend exacerbated through the COVID pandemic, and we know that the cost of living crisis is impacting spend with the local businesses. Now, we want all of our shopping areas to be cleaner, safer and healthier places for people to spend time and ultimately shop. That includes encouraging people, where possible, to make those trips to those areas by walking, cycling and public transport. There's a couple of benefits which I'll outline very quickly. First of all, for people who live and work in those areas, who experience cleaner air and a healthy environment. Our climate emergency references lowering vehicle emissions, and we know that's really important. We've had 14 years of the Conservative government rowing back on all their climate commitments, and just this week their leader said it was impossible to meet our legally binding climate goals of reaching net zero by 2050. So it's important. But also, and more importantly for this question, for businesses, because we know there's lots of evidence showing that where those who walk and cycle to shops in pedestrianised areas are more likely to spend more money, and businesses will see those higher sales. That is obvious, because when people, rather than driving to an area and just going to one shop, when they visit the area, they're more likely to go into several. Now, you referenced some of the other factors that we are aware of in Dulwich. That includes some prominent businesses being closed on a Sunday. We also have heard from local people that the diversity of the shopping offer could be improved as well. So absolutely hear your point about local impacts. We will absolutely continue to work and support local businesses as we have done over the last couple of years by providing grant funding of just under 3 million. But your initial question was around, will I commit to speaking with some of those businesses? We've got 18,000 businesses in Southwark. I haven't had time to visit all of them just yet, but I'm more than happy to commit to coming down to Dulwich, meeting with you, some of the business owners, and having that conversation.
I would like to thank the public questioner for attending this meeting. Thank you. We shall now consider the first community evidence submission on the theme from Tail Ties. Can officers please bring forward the requester? Thank you for attending this evening. You have 4 minutes in which to address the assembly. 4 minutes.
So broken glass, unsafe play areas and poorly maintained parks have become all too common, putting both children and dogs at risk. At Tell Ties, we believe that change is not only possible, it's necessary. Personally, I believe that certain breeds require licensing, and I'm sure that the news could give you plenty of reasons why. But whilst we're not there yet, we have an incredible opportunity to take the lead in making real change, setting a new standard for responsible ownership, education, and community well-being. Parks are not maintained to a standard that ensures safety for both children and dogs. Dog injuries from glass and litter are becoming increasingly common, with some owners avoiding local parks altogether. Children are oft left playing alongside dogs, which increases the risk of accidents. And certain breeds require more education in a controlled environment, a point that's often overlooked. The current situation is unsustainable, but it does not have to stay that way.
Dog waste isn't just unpleasant, it's also dangerous. It can carry harmful and serious parasites, like a Toxocara canis, which is a serious health risk. It causes infections in humans and also can cause blindness. Other infections in children especially are going to be able to contract this from soil and surfaces. Certain breeds also are really reactive and also face challenges in public areas. Not all dogs are comfortable socializing in open parks, and this can lead to aggression. Reports from veterinary clinics show that dog-on-dog aggression has increased by 20% in urban areas over the last 5 years, largely due to poor access to suitable exercise spaces. A well-dedicated, designed park would provide a safe space for these dogs to exercise without endangering others.
The solution. Our proposal is simple but effective. Create a designated friendly zones separated from children's play areas. Provide regular maintenance and waste management to keep these areas safe and clean. Offer educational programs about responsible dog ownership and child safety, creating a long-term culture shift. Tell Ties isn't just starting from scratch. We've already built momentum. We have already started the application with the King's Trust, and getting partnership with Southwark Council could only encourage the success of this opportunity. We successfully organize events that bring dog owners and families together. Our experience in childcare event planning and creative design gives us the expertise to execute this design efficiently.
We can create a safer environment for children and dogs and reduce injuries and accidents through better park management and design. Educate owners and families of the responsible behavior and safety in owning a dog. We have a plan, the need of the community, and hopefully the support of the council to make this happen. Sorry. We want to be able to secure funding and infrastructure and implement a creative and long-lasting change in the community. Let's make Southwark Council a leader in dog and child safety, not just a problem, but setting a new standard for parks across London. Let's make it better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to thank you for attending this evening. We shall now consider the second community evidence submission on the theme from Trevor Austin. Can officers please bring forward the requester? Thank you for attending this evening. You have 4 minutes in which to address the Assembly.
Thank you, Chair, and to all the councillors for inviting me. I'm Trevor Austin. I'm a recent new resident of Camberwell, having moved from Brighton. I went from the seaside to Camberwell. Imagine how stupid that was. But it turned out to be a very good move because I joined Camberwell Leisure Centre on arrival, and for the intervening time I've had a very good experience. I'm here primarily to commend the work of the council and the money that it's invested in the leisure centres, Camberwell primarily, because that's the only centre I use. So I've been to that centre, and I am a 73-year-old, so you can see the benefit of going 6 times a week swimming and to the gym. Thank you. I have found the staff very helpful, and the discounts are always welcome. But essentially, it's been a very beneficial experience. Our blood sugar's gone down, something my GP raised, and I'll come back to that. I've made some new friends, and I've increased my strength, which is what people in my age group often need to do. So in the gym for 45 minutes twice a week, trying to slow down the aging process. I think, though, the council could do more in the gym. I don't see many people in my age group, and I do sample different times of day and different days of the week. You may have read a report that in America, they have 93-year-olds doing programs of resistance training. And I don't see any 93-year-olds in the Camberwell gym. I think there's somebody in their 80s, and the marketing manager may well tell me off for missing a person I haven't actually met. The thing is, in the gym, that I think it's very focused on younger cohorts. And I'm often told by the gym staff to get on the floor, not to do press-ups, I hasten to add, as a punishment, but to do various exercises. And that is, if you're as old as me, quite humiliating, getting on and off the floor. You need to be seated. I'd also recommend you speak to GP practices more often, because when you get a diagnosis of pre-diabetes, as I did, it's very frightening. And you should, instead of being put on statins, which is what my GP immediately wanted me to do, because they're incentivized to do that. Oh, 38 seconds. Why not have a program in the gym that's tailor-made to your needs? Sorry? Okay, thank you. So I'd commend the council. You already have GP referrals down to the gym, I know, but you could build on that and have many more people of my age and older coming in and benefiting from the health benefits and saving the NHS a fortune in drugs. It is unsustainable to have.
Sorry, your time is up, please.
Okay. It's
Thank you.
sustainable.
I would like to. Thank you for coming. We shall now consider the third community evidence submission on the theme from Leona Rose. Can officers please bring forward the requester? It's not here. They're not here. That's fine. We shall now consider the fourth community evidence submission on the theme from Latin Elephant. Can officers please bring forward the requester? Thank you for attending this evening. You have 4 minutes in which to address the Assembly.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening. My name is Valerie Rosa, and I am providing community evidence on behalf of Latin Elephant at the invitation of Councillor Portia Mwanganye regarding our involvement in the Burgess Park Working Group with Southwark Council, a group dedicated to creating an inclusive outdoor eating space featuring electric hot plates in the park after the loss of the Burgess Park barbecues. Latin Elephant is a charity based in Elephant and Castle that advocates for an inclusive regeneration process for Black and ethnic minorities, including Latin Americans, with a focus on local communities. In 2022, the We World Wealth program, led by Pembroke House, identified the loss of the barbecues as a major concern for residents. For many, Burgess Park serves as an extension of their homes, offering a rare communal space amid limited housing green space in a rapidly gentrifying borough like Southwark. After years of organizing and collaboration, the trial for an electric hot plate area officially launched on August 24th, 2024. This milestone marks a step forward in reclaiming public space for the community, ensuring Burgess Park continues to serve as a hub of connection and cultural expression. Now that the new hot plates are in place, we would like to offer some recommendations on how the Council can enhance the impact of projects like this, its collaboration with community members and local organizations. Prioritize marginalized communities by ensuring that collaboration efforts and public spaces prioritize the needs of these communities and those who lack access to private outdoor space rather than amplifying privileged perspective. Respect community vision by committing to centering the community's vision for public spaces as the guiding principle throughout the project's process and outcome. Ensure access for low-income families by guaranteeing that vital public and green spaces like Burgess Park remain fully accessible to low-income families who rely on them for recreation, well-being, and community cohesion. Provide reliable data. The Council should commit to using clear, accurate, and reliable data sources to support decision-making, ensuring that best practices are upheld. Build trust throughout transparency by enhancing transparency in its process to build trust with community members. Accelerate consultation timelines. The Council should streamline the consultation process to significantly reduce delays rather than extending it for 2 years. Ensuring fair representation. By ensuring fair and balanced representation of community members, local councillors, local groups, and officers in the decision-making process. Address resource disparities. The Council should work towards a more equitable distribution of responsibilities and resources between the Council and community member. Streamline paperwork and requirements. Improve process to prevent last-minute administrative burdens, such as risk assessments, music licenses, and first aid requirements within the working group. While we applaud the attempt by Southwark Council to attempt to work collaborative with local groups on the governance and implementation of projects such as this, much more needs to be done within the Council to develop the culture and practice of collaboration and to share power more effectively and equitable. Now I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Unfortunately, we don't have any time for questions. I would like to thank you for attending this evening. We will now consider the theme motion. Councillor Portia Mwangange, Cabinet Member for Leisure, Park and Young People. You have 7 minutes in which to present the theme debate and the motion on the theme.
Madam Mayor, councillors, council officers, and the 5 residents watching us on YouTube right now. All protocol observed. In Uganda, we say all protocol observed at every event to let people know that we're welcoming distinguished guests and our residents and thanking them for all of their contributions to this themed motion. So just to be clear, I'm thanking you all right now so that we can save time later on in the night for other motions. Thank you very much. So at the risk of triggering the opposition tonight, I'm going to be celebrating the good work that we've done in creating healthy and green spaces for our borough. So for a moment, I want you to cast your minds back to the lockdown times when we need to all remember when we were finally allowed to play out with our friends, and we carefully selected four other people that we were allowed to congregate with, and that basically told everyone who your special people were. We all gathered in our parks and our open spaces, eating, drinking, playing music, and finally feeling human again, while we breathed open, clean air and made human contact. Our parks, our playgrounds, and our open spaces were the light at the end of the tunnel during very, very dark times. And now who remembers the fitness challenges? Nothing brought a group chat together like ridiculing the one person that didn't do their 10,000 steps in a single day. Now, notwithstanding the tragedy that COVID was, our communities were forced to prioritize health and fitness because outside of everything, that's the only thing that we had control over. This is why, as a resident of 22 years and as a representative now, I am so proud of the emphasis that this administration has placed on green and leisure spaces. Dare I say, and all puns intended, these spaces are the heartbeat of our community. So what exactly has Southwark Labour done to create and celebrate healthy, green and leisure spaces? Financially, we have invested 10 million in our leisure centres, including the upgrade in Damilola Taylor Youth Centre gym, 15 million pounds so far in our playgrounds investment programme, investment in refurbishing our sports facilities, over 1 million pounds invested in our sports funds, creating new green spaces in urbanised areas like Victory Park, where we spent over 1 million on that project, creating new green spaces in Rye Lane Ward by joining Harold Moody Park and Consort Park, £200,000 given to our communities to celebrate the wonderful cultures within our borough. Now, don't get me wrong, the money is amazing, but what this money does is more important. We reduce health inequalities by ensuring that those who are most vulnerable in our communities have access to these facilities. We are reducing the life chances gap by giving young people opportunities in the arts and creative sector. We are tackling food poverty by creating spaces for our residents to grow their own food. This administration seeks out opportunities to increase the quality of the life of our residents and carries them out. While all the work is going on in the forefront, there is also work going on in the background too. Carried out by councillors all in this room, regardless of political colours, we are doing everything to put our residents' needs first. We've got North Bermondsey councillors working with the Cabinet Member for Housing to carry out improvements on Kirby Estate. We've got Faraday Ward councillors with Councillor Harper at the helm, working with our communities, as you've just heard today with Latin Elephant, with a hot plates in Burgess Park, an initiative that is much loved by the Latin community in our borough. We've got the Deputy Cabinet Member for Green Investment, Councillor Hickson, who is investing in libraries, who has set up an initiative that invests in libraries, that has seen the introduction of the Library of Things. And down south, we've got Dulwich Wood councillors supporting sports organisations that give sports provision to our young people here in Dulwich. Now, see, I could continue going on, and I've got 2 minutes left. I could continue going on and on about the amount of work that we've done to invest in reducing health inequalities in our borough and through our green spaces and our leisure spaces. But for the interest of time, I'm going to leave us with this thought. Just remember how you felt during COVID when all you had to do was take a walk, go for a run, meet in the park with your friends, or do a fitness challenge just so that you can stay connected with one another. That is the feeling that we are trying to replicate for all of our residents every day. So now, no, we're not here constantly tooting our own horns. We're just trying to spread the happiness that we all deserve, because honestly, our mental health deserves it. So I move this motion, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. The lead opposition spokesperson will now have an opportunity to reply to the cabinet member's statement and speak on Amendment A. Councillor Rachel Blentley, you have 5 minutes in which to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Now, there was a lot of that I could agree with. And as some of you know, I have recently had a period of ill health, and it has been more apparent to me than ever that just how important good health is, fitness, and access to green, quiet, calming, pleasant spaces. And I think we've also heard from the community evidence tonight. I must admit, dog poo is always one of my favourite subjects, so I was really pleased to hear it raised here. But also the comments from Latin Elephant, I think it's really important, and it just goes to show how our public spaces represent different things to different groups. So whilst this administration's motion on healthy and green leisure spaces does present an optimistic vision on paper, the reality, as we've heard, is that our local facilities is not always up to that. Our amendment draws attention to a pattern of neglect that has left many green spaces and play areas in a state of disrepair. Thankfully, the council finally committed to an audit last year of its sad playgrounds following a Lib Dem motion, a move that has actually come too late to address years of underinvestment in some places. This move came following a concerning report from the children's charity London Play, where playgrounds in the borough have been described as miserable and dilapidated, with several sites identified as amongst London's saddest. These reports confirm that the issues we have long raised are not isolated incidents, but they're part of a wider problem. Consider, for example, Woodland Park at Russia Dock, where essential wooden play equipment has been removed. In Camberwell Green, we've heard about Camberwell already, community table tennis tables have been taken away in the name of crime prevention, depriving local residents of simple, free, everyday activities. And at Nursery Row Park, even flora funded by Cleaner, Greener, Safer, we know we're very proud of those grants, has been removed, leaving the area stark and uninviting. The prolonged closure of the Mint Street Adventure Playground, despite its refurbishment, comes to limit limits access to vital community facilities. At Mary Datchler School, a hedge has been installed in 2019. So rather than improving safety, it's actually served as a physical barrier that segregates access between children in private housing and those in council housing. I don't think anybody wants that. And in Bermondsey, as you've mentioned, yes, we have playgrounds on the estates like the Kirby, we have Roll Road and Abbeyfield, which have been consistently criticised by local parents, local children, who describe them as nasty and lonely. And I'm sure their parents also have some choice words. And yes, that one in the Kirby, it's got a sinkhole and it has been closed for many years. It's unacceptable. We also have the issue of recurrent use of our parks for corporate events. These restrict public access for extended periods and create noise and disruption, and we can't really see the tangible benefit that these are offering to the communities where their places are disrupted. We've asked consistently for that corporate use to directly contribute to the upkeep of our park, and that proposal was dismissed. The insourcing of leisure services, you've talked about that. We understand that fees have risen far above the rate of inflation, whilst in some locations the quality of maintenance has continued to decline. And the long-promised comprehensive leisure strategy expected in 2024 remains unfulfilled. The failure to invest adequately in our community infrastructure is a clear sign that our parks and play areas are continuing to be overlooked. Our amendment calls for a thorough, timely audit of all local playgrounds, not just a token exercise, but a practical first step. We all know that families and children are leaving London, they are leaving our borough and others. This is one tool in helping them consider that this is somewhere they want to live. So I know you won't, we've been here before, but I do urge every member of this council assembly to support our amendment. Our parks and our playgrounds are not just amenities, they're an essential part of our community. They're places where families
have
and
30 seconds
communities
remaining.
meet, where children play and residents can enjoy a breath of fresh air in an increasingly urban environment. We're investing in these, we invest in the quality of life for everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you. As part of the program motion, the meeting has agreed to have a combined debate on the motion and the amendment. I have a list of members who have indicated they would like to speak. I will call them in order. Councillor Situ, Councillor Roberts, Councillor Irina von Weiss, Councillor Sunil Chopra, Councillor James Makash. I just want to name your name so that you will be prepared. Then Councillor Maria Linford, Councillor Evelyn Akoto, Councillor Reggie Papola, Councillor James Salmon, Councillor Ian Wingfield, Councillor David Patton, and then Councillor Victor Chamberlain. So Catherine Rose and
Councillor Charlie Smith.
Apologies, Councillor. And Councillor Yera as well. Anyone else? Can you put up your hands a bit higher? I cannot see very well. Councillor Mohammed, that's fine. Victor, you are in. Councillor Charlie, you are in. That's fine. Yeah.
Councillor Ismail Hicks as well.
Okay. I think we've got more. Mohammedin, yeah. Okay, Councillor Michael Sheet, you have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm really pleased to be speaking on this team motion, which gives us the opportunity for us to reflect on how far we have come as a borough in respect of the look and feel of the borough itself. I must say, listening to Councillor Mugranje in terms of the excellent things that has been going on within our borough and listening to the Lib Dem, it does feel sometimes that we are given a two different perspectives of the borough itself. But what I would say is that in my year as the mayor, I've had the opportunity to speak to residents across the length of the borough itself. I had the opportunity to speak to residents from neighboring boroughs. And I can tell you this, the residents are very proud of the leisure of the parks and open space, of the playground, of the facilities in which Southwark has to offer itself. There's so much we have to be excited about, whether it's our flagship parks, our sports facilities, or our library. I'd like to speak briefly about 3 aspects. I'm particularly proud of Burgess Park being one of the flagship parks across London as a whole. It offers sports facilities, pitches, cycling, a huge place for people to relax. I'm particularly also proud of our library. We've put quite a lot of investment over the years in ensuring that our library is a good place for our residents, for our young people to be and study. For a lot of young people, the library offers them an opportunity for reading, for studying, and for ensuring that they continue to attain the best within the area. And I'm particularly proud of the investment we've made more recently in our leisure center itself. Madam Mayor, I'm also particularly proud of the plans for Old Kent Road. Old Kent Road is going through significant changes, but at the same time, there are massive investments to ensure that our play space, our open space, and our facility continue to match up. We have plans to invest in Breminty Park, ensuring that it matches up to a state-of-the-art sports facility. investment plans in Leighton Square Hut to ensure that the youth facilities there continue to support our young people, and together with plans for Brancourt Park and Beding Bush Park. I'm particularly proud of what this council is doing to ensure that all Kent Road residents continue to get the support they get. Madam Mayor, we have so much to be proud of, and with this motion, we set our eyes and our sights on even greater achievement. I commend this motion to the floor.
Thank you. Councillor President Roberts, you've got 3 minutes to speak.
Oh, there it is. I couldn't see. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would also like to support this motion. Councillors Whittam and Cryan and I were lucky enough a couple of weeks ago to go and have a sneak peek at the Cannon to Water Leisure Centre. The amazing new centre that's opening very soon. We had a look at the big pool, as I think it will be called, but we were also allowed to have a look at the smaller learner pool with its retractable floor, which obviously makes that exceptionally useful for groups of all ages, all abilities, and allow them to use that space safely. The gym, when it's fitted out, will have accessible equipment for wheelchair users and those with less ability. Apparently, these gym machines are going to be state of the art. I think we can all tell that I don't particularly use the gym a lot. However, the facilities at the new leisure centre look so fantastic that I might even be persuaded. I mean, it was great to hear the testimony earlier of Trevor, who highlighted the benefits of the gym at whatever age you are. So I might even heed his advice myself. The new centre also boasts a huge sports hall, which will allow groups and individuals to use that for a wide range of sports, five-a-side football, basketball. Councillor Cryan and Councillor Whittam even showed off their hoop skills. I am proud of the work that we have been able to do on the Cannon to Water Leisure Centre. It's a massive upgrade on the much loved but slightly older Seven Islands Centre. And I'm really, really pleased that it's Councillor Mwanganje, sorry, Portia, who is in charge of those services and is driving this with her commitment to the gym. And I know that with her in charge, we're in safe hands. Thank you.
Councillor Jen Salmon, you have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And can I just say, I am speaking again, but thank you very much for your excellent chairing over the last year. It's been exceptional. Thank you. Sorry, people only said that first. And now I go into it. Thank you. I'd like to address the shortcomings of the current motion on healthy green and leisure spaces, a motion that fundamentally fails to address a number of pressing issues that affect our community on a daily basis. Take, for example, the removal of essential play equipment from our parks. As mentioned by my colleague, at Russia Woodland Park, wooden play structures have been removed without any clear plan for replacement. In Camberwell Green, there's the table tennis tables that have been taken away. And at Nursery Road Park, even flowers funded through CGS have been eliminated, leaving behind a noticeably barren environment. These decisions are not isolated incidents, but clear indicators of a broader neglect that undermines our community's quality of life. The Labour motion fails to tackle these fundamental issues. There is no mention of the need for direct consultation with local residents before making changes that remove valuable community assets. The motion does not set out any concrete measures to reinstate or replace the removed play equipment, nor does it address the growing concerns about rising leisure fees
and the adverse impact this decision has on families, especially those already struggling to make ends meet. In contrast, our amendment takes a more practical and community-focused approach. It calls for a comprehensive audit of all local playgrounds, a commitment which was secured last year, but it has seen little to no progress since then. However, rather than letting this audit become a token exercise, our proposal sets out a clear vision for tangible improvements. We want to ensure that any significant changes to our parks are preceded by meaningful consultation with local community groups, guaranteeing that decisions reflect the need of the families who use these spaces every day. Our amendment is not just about restoring play equipment. It is all about recognising that these facilities are essential for providing safe, welcoming spaces where children can play and neighbours can connect. It is about ensuring that the borough remains a place where community life can flourish rather than being eroded by decisions. Thank you. Eroded by decisions that prioritise short-term cost saving over long-term well-being. By supporting our amendment, this council would be taking a decisive step forward towards a more accountable and responsive approach. I urge you all to support our amendment, which not only rectifies the failings in the current motion, but also provides a clear blueprint for a borough that truly values its parks and the people who use them. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sunil Chopra, you have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Before I speak, I must say that you conducted all the Council Assembly very nicely and very professionally. Congratulations to you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's a great pleasure to stand before you today to talk about something that touches the lives of every resident in Southwark. Our environment, our parks, and our shared vision for a greener, cleaner borough. As a council, we are deeply committed to making Southwark one of the greenest boroughs in London, where nature thrives, communities flourish, and sustainability at the heart of everything we do. Our parks and green spaces are the lungs of our borough. From Burgess Park to Peckham Rye, from Southwark Park to smaller community gardens, these spaces provide a sanctuary for relaxation, play, and social connection. That is why Southwark is investing in their upkeep, ensuring they remain safe, clean, and accessible to all. Well done, Southwark, for achieving 30 Green Flags awards for our amazing parks. We are working hard to improve our park facilities, enhance play areas, and increase green cover. More trees, wildflowers, and better landscaping will not only improve our air quality, but also support biodiversity. Beyond conservation, we must recognize that our responsibility extends beyond our generation. We owe it to our children and grandchildren to respect and protect the environment. The choices we make today, how we treat our parks, how we manage our waste, how we reduce pollution, will determine the world we pass on to our generation. We must install a culture of environmental respect, ensuring that the beauty and health of our borough endure for years to come. Beyond parks, our vision for a greener Southwark extends to every street, estate, and public space. Initiatives such as planting the street trees, increasing recycling, and support active travel by cycling and walking is very important. Air quality is one of the biggest challenges, but we are taking steps to reduce pollution. Through our work with Transport for London and local businesses, we are promoting cleaner, greener transport. More electric vehicle charging point and low emission zone will benefit the health of our residents. Creating a greener Southwark is a collective effort, and we should work closely with residents, businesses, school, community groups. We can join cleanup groups, campaign, urban greening project, and sustainable business initiative. Everyone involvement is important. I encourage everyone to take part in community tree planting in joint Friends Park groups, contribute ideas to Green Action Plan. Together, we ensure that Southwark remains a place where nature and people.
Your time is up. Thank you. Councillor James McCash, you have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. And can I echo the congratulations to you on an excellent year and a wonderful series of council assemblies chaired so well. I absolutely love parks. Parks are wicked, aren't they? I don't know what my favorite park in Southwark is. I mean, Peck and Rye is really cool. I cycle through Burgess Park all the time. That's really great. Dulwich Park in the south of the borough when I'm down there. Southwark Park has lots of cool stuff too. I mean, I know what you're thinking. The best park, perhaps it's Goose Green, the park that, of course, my ward is named after. But no, that's not what I'm going to say, friends. That is not what I'm going to say. The best park, the most exciting park in our borough is, in fact, two parks. Am I cheating there? No, I'm not. Let me explain why. It's Harold Moody Park and Consort Park. Why is that? Why is that? Because we are tearing down the tarmac wall between these two parks, deleting that road which served little purpose, to connect these two parks, to make a sum that is greater than the parks. And why are we doing that? We're doing that because of the amazing hard work of our council officers and, of course, the excellent political leadership of our Labour group. And that process is something that we want. That's one example. It's a very big example. That's a process we want to roll out everywhere. The parkification of our streets, I call it, as of today. So an example of that, of course, is in Dulwich Village. Is Clive Wright still there at the back? No, he's probably gone down to Dulwich Square to enjoy himself there, as he now can, as we have parkified that part of the street space. A bit closer, a bit further north, in the middle of the borough, we have Walworth, the Walworth Pocket Parks, a bucolic fantasy with all these child-friendly streets where children can play and enjoy the greenery. And then, of course, in the Leader of the Opposition's ward, the Cut, which is being greenified and made absolutely beautiful. We're bringing parks to the streets in all those ways. We're bringing parks to streets in other ways. We're putting benches everywhere so people can sit. People love sitting. We're doing biodiversity, flood relief, all these kinds of things. And of course, trees, more trees. We have 100,000 trees in our borough, and I love trees. I mean, what was trees?
That
Really,
is
aren't
the
they?
remaining.
I'm just going to talk about trees for a little bit, Madam Mayor. So they provide shade, they provide clean air, they look great, you can climb them. Trees are brilliant. So I'm gonna wrap up there. I want to commend my wonderful ward councillor on the amazing work she's doing to support, develop and expand our trees. And I'm going to take this as a personal promise as well, that I'm going to try and replicate her hard work on our streets and parkify them further.
Time is up.
I commend the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Victor Chamberlain, you have 3 minutes to speak.
Oh, thank you, Madam Mayor. What an act to follow. Thank you for putting this motion forward. You know, there is lots that we do agree about in Southwark, and protecting our green and open spaces is absolutely one of them. And it is so vital because so many of us do live without private open space. We don't have gardens, we don't have balconies. So our parks are our gardens. They're the places that we do need to go to. Sadly, though, this Labour motion just paints a picture of a borough that I don't recognise, where green spaces and leisure spaces are thriving. For too many residents, particularly in the areas where they're needed the most, this simply isn't the case. Particularly when you look at the fact that we are relying so heavily on those parks. Our amendment lays out the harsh reality. Parks and playgrounds are being neglected, and community spaces are being taken away, and residents are being ignored. Mint Street Park, it's not a park you mentioned, James, in our ward. The Adventure Playground, a vital space for children in Borough and Bankside, one of the most densely populated parts of London, where access to green and open space is already extremely limited. During the pandemic, it was completely shut off. When children had nowhere to go, this playground remained off limits and locked when it could have been open to the community. A time when families needed that outside space, you didn't deliver it. And it was only because we put a deputation to the council that we managed to get that space opened up again. Then there's the Grotto site, also in the borough, a green space that should have been returned to the community years ago. But instead, access has been repeatedly delayed. This council has endorsed a private development that, on the promise that this space would be opened up, yet it still remains fenced off. How long do residents have to wait before this council delivers on commitments? This isn't an isolated example. My colleagues have mentioned playgrounds across the borough that are sad, that are neglected, green spaces that are being stripped back, antisocial behaviour that remains untackled. Labour ignores them, it downplays them, it pretends they don't matter. The council has failed to take action where it really matters. Residents want safe, well-maintained, accessible parks and leisure facilities. Instead, we're seeing fees rising for leisure facilities, more than 10 times the rate of inflation, while maintenance issues and repairs go unresolved. And what is the leisure strategy where is the leisure strategy that we were promised in 2024? Once again, Labour says all the right things, but fails to deliver. So that residents deserve better than these empty promises, and our amendment puts forward real solutions. An audit on play facilities, proper accountability so developers actually deliver the play areas that they promise, a commitment that there will be major park changes, that major park changes won't happen without community consultation, and more park liaison officers to deter crime and antisocial behaviour, and as well as a fully costed strategy so residents can get the services they are promised. Labour's had years to get it right, you haven't done it, and time again, you say all the right things, but you're not doing what the public are needing right now. I urge colleagues to vote for our amendment and to stand up for Southwark residents.
Thank you. Bang on time. Thank you. Councillor Evelyn Akoto, you've got 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I echo all the congratulatory message to you. I'm going to miss your strict chairing, so I better get on with it. Madam Mayor, sometimes when you listen to the opposition, it sounds like nothing is happening in this borough. And it's unfortunate that sometimes, I will want you to also recognize the hard work we put in to ensure that we're improving our services. But all we get from you, negative, negative, negative. Colleagues, I've listed all the great works and investment in our leisure facilities, so I'm not going to repeat it. One thing I want to say is that we have to be proud of what we have in the borough. We have to be proud of the leisure facilities that we are provided. Free swim and gym, that's not featured in every borough. This is unique to Southwark, and we have to hold on to that, and we have to flag it high. I was reading somewhere that regular green space is linked to 33% lower risk of general poor health and 40% less likely to be overweight or obese. We've got bags of great green space within the borough. And I'm also proud that Public Health is working with the Leisure Department to ensure that we have targeted sessions. I know we talked about silver sessions. I think the last Council Assembly, you gave that testimony of the person who used silver sessions. We have GP referrals, we have health cures. We are doing so much to ensure that our health of our borough and our residents is improving. And what I want from you as an opposition is to recognise just a little bit of what we're doing so that we can do more in earnest. So, Council Assembly, all I'm going to say is that we are going to carry on doing the great work we're doing, and I commend this motion to you.
Thank you. Councillor Adrian Papola, you've got 3 minutes to speak.
Cheers, Madam Mayor. Of course, I've got a stutter, so of course, chair me quite lightly. I would first and foremost like to support this motion completely. I've got a fairly interesting fact. My favourite colour is red, but after that, it's clearly green. And I would like to say that we have green spaces in abundance in Nunhead and Queen's Road, from the myriad of community gardens to the crown jewel of my ward, that is Nunhead Cemetery. There is a thread which flows through them all. You have hard-working officers and a strong political Labour leadership that has ensured that these spaces not only exist, they also thrive as well. Nunhead green spaces provide more than just beauty. They provide vital spaces for health and well-being, the access to fresh air, the opportunity for outdoor exercise, and the peace that these spaces bring are often invaluable to everyone. They are a proper equalizer. Young or old, rich or poor, black and white, you can always access these spaces. And I am so proud that I am part of an administration that has continued to invest in these spaces, and also that makes Nunhead a fantastic and warm and caring community for all. Speaking about community, we also have fantastic community hubs. Successive Labour administrations since 2010 have ensured that these hubs are there for the community. You've got the Green Community Centre that was created by a forward-thinking administration there, but also the recent refurbishment of Nunhead Library has also meant that during very difficult times, those spaces are always open for all. I would like to quickly state that we also need to, of course, look to the future. It is extremely crucial that we continue to protect and enhance these spaces as much as possible. COVID has shown that these spaces are precious, but they're also very fragile as well. So let us continue to care for these spaces, respect the environment, and also make sure that monies are also there for them. I am confident that this administration will ensure that these spaces remain a valuable resources for generations to come, not only in my ward of Nunhead, but also across the borough as well. I commend this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Ian Wingfield, you've got 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And can I add my congratulations to your wonderful year. It's been a very successful year and will continue to be for the remaining weeks. Some members might be disappointed to know that I actually wasn't going to speak this evening, but here I am, because I've been motivated by the Lib Dem amendment and, of course, by the leader of the opposition himself to reply. And what I can see is similar to the motion that we had at the last Council Assembly. The Lib Dem artificial intelligence has been hard at work again. And we can see it littered all the way through this particular amendment, because it's full of distortions, it's full of half-truths, and it's full of Lib Dem propaganda. They are, as was referred to before, living in a parallel world, one that I don't recognise, the majority of councillors in this assembly don't recognise, and indeed the majority of the public out there at large in this borough do not recognise. So let's look at some of these distortions that the Lib Dems put forward in my ward, which is listed in their amendment. It talks about tennis tables being removed from Camberwell Green. Supposedly, it says here, in the name of crime prevention. Well, if they call the testimony of the local police and local residents who've been abused and assaulted as in the name of crime prevention, it shows what they understand, or should I say, don't understand about antisocial behaviour and the problems our public are facing in this borough. And it's contradictory to later clauses in their amendment, which talks about, what's it say, antisocial behaviour continues to be an issue in our parks and to hold friends group to tackle it. Well, if they don't understand the problem in the first place, I don't see how they're going to tackle it. Secondly, they talk about a hedge being installed between private and social housing in Mary Datchula school site. Well, that is, as terrible as that may be, it is a private development. The council doesn't own it, and it's a housing association that looks after the social housing. So we're not the landlord either. So it's guilt by association as far as the Lib Dems are concerned. And thirdly, they say making significant changes to our parks. Well, I remember when they tried to sell off part of Lucas Gardens, when they sold the family silver down in Camberwell and brought everything up here, they tried to sell part of Lucas Gardens for private gardens to private houses. That's how much they care about common land and the public in this borough. We've got the councillors to stand up for the green issues in this borough. And like Reggie, I should have put my green tie on tonight, but we're absolutely committed to defending our parks. And only Labour is the party in this borough that will defend those parks.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor David Patton, you've got 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's quite a tough act to follow. The ward I represent, Rye Lane, in the heart of Peckham, is perhaps not abundant for its parkland and green space. But I'd like to thank Councillor Wanganje for bringing this important motion, recognising the vital role green and leisure spaces play in healthy, happy communities. However, Too many of my residents live in cramped, overcrowded conditions, let alone with any access to private outdoor space. With families of 7, 8 or 9 people squeezed into a 2 or 3 bedroom house or a flat, a lawn, an outdoor table, a barbecue, a bench, a place to play, a place to grow, a place to feel the warm sun on your skin is too easily considered a luxury, a preserve for the wealthy and a resort for the well-to-do. But here in Southwark, Madam Mayor, it is clear that this Labour administration refuses to leave outdoor spaces as a preserve of the few. In Rye Lane specifically, this council's investment in merging and upgrading Dr. Harold Moody Park with Consort Park will help transform this space. By transitioning disused road into green space with improved planting, by planting a mini forest to protect and enhance local biodiversity, and by delivering landscaping and accessibility improvements that will make the park more accessible and more open to our residents. This is combined with a ramping up of tree planting across the ward and the borough as a whole. This will help clean our air, provide shelter from increasingly severe heat waves, and support wildlife in a heavily urbanised area. Not to mention the vital investment in protecting Peckham Rye Common in the south of my ward from flooding that will keep this essential public realm healthy and safe for all. These are just some local examples of this administration's investment in healthy, thriving, green and leisure spaces that our community, including our most vulnerable, turn to throughout life. Access to them is not and must not be merely an environmental aspiration, it is a social justice priority. I call on all members to support this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Kieran Williams, you've got 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. May I add my congratulations to you as well for your chairing of this meeting, but also the host of amazing events you've included, not least your FGM event that was out here in the atrium and the IFTA that you held in this room just last week. You brought the community together in a way that I think has been spectacular to see. So my congratulations to you. So for the rest of this, I'm gonna try a bit of a sprint. Actually, I'm going to follow in the footsteps of Councillor Emily Hickston, who is currently training for the marathon to run in the Mayor's charity, and see if we can just do a little bit of a run around our borough. A run that isn't just an audit of what we need to do, but is actually a discussion about what we are doing. So let's start right down in the south. And we're going to talk about libraries and parks and playgrounds. So, Kingswood Library, upgraded just a couple of years ago. You go up past that and you go to the amazing Herne Hill Velodrome in our borough, 55,000 cyclists using it a year. You come up to Dulwich Library, which is also being upgraded again, in the process of being. You can cut across to Grove Vale Library, opened just a few years ago, and then maybe go across to Peckham Rye, where we've been busy upgrading and are still busy upgrading the playgrounds or our cemeteries, or maybe run up to Peckham and the new Library Square that we're currently consulting on plans to upgrade as well. Or cut over to Burgess Park, where of course you'll see a host of things. I couldn't possibly list them all. A playground at the West End, the amazing BMX, and right now being finished off the new sports centre. Just below that, I missed on that journey, so maybe we have to double back here. You've got Ben Hill Nature Garden, a bit of wasteland transformed into a nature garden for residents. Carry back on up, and what you get? Well, libraries, of course. Una Marston Library, stunning library, brand new. Cut across Walworth Library, fantastic too. Over to Elephant Park, where you can run through a park still being built, still being extended, much more of it to come. Cut across to Mint Street or Elambound Playgrounds, Dickens Fields, upgraded just a few years ago. Southwark Park with an outstanding athletics centre, upgraded again just a few years ago. Brimington Park being upgraded as we speak. Cut over to Surrey Docks Water Centre, and you will find an amazing centre, actually, under-recognised in our borough, with open water swimming happening there as well. And then, of course, there's the new Canada Water, I should say, leisure centre that's just about to be finished. That's why our residents are so happy with our parks, 82% satisfaction with them. That's why we, as a Labour administration, have been on our residents' side, making sure our borough improves. And we've done that in a period where the opposition party, with the Conservatives, have been cutting funding for councils. Amazing work Imagine how much more we can do together now. Now we have a Labour government on our side as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Unfortunately, we have no more time remaining. And so I shall call Councillor Portia Monganye to respond to the debate. And you have 3 minutes in which to respond.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can I start with a point of correction? Had you taken the time to speak to officers, you would have known that the Russia Dock Woodland play equipment was not council equipment. It was equipment put up by an organisation supported by the council to have play equipment over there. The reason why it was taken down is because it was deemed unsafe. We did not take that equipment down. The organisation that put it up did that. That's the only point of correction I'm going to make. The amendment, I will not speak on. I'm going to go on to say these things. My friends are constantly saying that I'm extremely graceful in moments where grace is not warranted. But I think everyone deserves grace, because I too would be jealous if I wasn't a part of an administration who, against all odds and all local government funding cuts, has somehow managed to create green spaces, has somehow managed to invest in its young people by keeping their youth centres open, has somehow managed to keep our libraries open, has somehow managed to put money into our pocket parks and creating green spaces in streets and making young people safer when they are walking from point A to point B, and how somehow manages to talk to thousands and thousands of residents every single time we need to make a change, because we are a people-powered organization and we take that seriously. I too would be green in a bad way, with envy and jealousy if I wasn't a part of this administration. So I completely understand where you're coming from, and I give you grace, and I thank you for somehow in your motion highlighting the things we are actually already doing in order for us to make sure that we are delivering for our residents. So I'm actually just here to say thank you so much. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you. I shall now move to the vote on Amendment A. Those in favour of Amendment A?
Which wants to go to No.
Madam Mayor.
Those against?
Madam Mayor.
Any abstentions? Amendment A is lost. I shall now move to the vote on substantive. Those in favour of the substantive motion?
42, Madam Mayor.
Those against?
10, Madam Mayor.
No abstentions, right? Substantive motion is carried. As we have reached the end of the themed debate, we have agreed to take 5-minute recess. We will reconvene at 20:25. And I'm saying 20:25 exactly. Thank you. We are now to start. Please be seated. We are now to start. I'm just giving you 15 seconds. You have 15 seconds. 7, 5, 4, 2, 1. Now we start. Welcome back. It is now time for deputations. As part of program motion, members agreed to hear one deputation from SHAPE, Southwark Housing and Planning Emergency. Can officers please bring forward the deputation? Will the deputation spokesperson please address the meeting? You have 5 minutes to speak.
SHAPE, Southwark Housing and Planning Emergency, is a diverse coalition with a shared commitment to addressing the profound impact of the housing and planning emergency on our communities. On the 1st of March, over 600 residents took to the streets of Peckham in a powerful march to Borough Triangle, highlighting widespread community opposition to overdevelopment, displacement, and the neglect of local voices in planning decisions. We are calling for homes for people, not for profit. Despite new developments, Southwark Council's housing waiting list is longer than it was 20 years ago. We are here today because Southwark's way of dealing with the housing emergency has been and still is continuously failing local residents. The planning system is discretionary and instead of providing solution is being exploited by developers prioritizing profit over people. The homes we need, council housing, are not being provided. Instead, we are seeing more and more luxury flats. Key issues: 1, housing crisis and planning failures. We demand an end to developments that only meet bare minimums. No second homes or luxury flats whilst residents suffer. The cost of living crisis compounds this issue, and housing is more than just houses. It's also the social and civic infrastructure around homes too that support healthy and comfortable neighborhoods where people can put down roots. 2, overdensification and gentrification. Southwark's overdevelopment leads to gentrification, sterilization, pushing out existing communities and sterilizing vibrant areas. We must avoid creating any slums of tomorrow and future estates that will be demolished soon after. So we demand to stop unsafe, poorly designed housing lacking optimal livability. The construction industry is the largest emitter of carbon emissions. Mega developments that acutely threaten Southwark's effort to tackle the climate emergency without providing enough livable, genuinely affordable homes, but instead create more social and environmental harm than good, both on a local and global scale. 3, public realm and community spaces. Protect and enhance our green and blue infrastructure. The public realm must be generous, child-friendly, and genuinely accessible, not a minimal afterthought on service roads. 4, community engagement and accountability. We demand true engagement with local communities. Residents are tired of firefighting against decisions made without their input, or not being listened to, or being invited to packed rooms where they are not able to enter and voice their concern. Southwark Council must follow through on their commitments made in the Southwark Land Commission report. We remind 3 of these recommendations: the Local Land Forums, Community Empowerment Fund, and the Social Purpose of Land Framework. Local expertise needs more than just recognition. It needs real and timely support. The Council must provide the resources for community expertise to move beyond the current reactive firefighting, short-term fixes, and instead empower communities to drive long-lasting transformative change. 5, displacement and gentrification. Existing independent traders and new creative industries are being used and abused instead of being nurtured to retain or make long-standing roots in communities. For new developments, we need a new agent of change principle that is not for noise but for protecting local cultures. Just as current policy stops new housing from shutting down existing music venues, any new development must also prevent the displacement of existing local culture. 6, transparency and consultation. Site allocations must respect existing community voices and consultation must be genuine, and we mean genuine. No sudden changes without community buy-in. We demand site allocations done with spatial capacity studies that show massing of development and the communities can visualize the numbers. Our core demands can be seen online, but I'll remind 3, 50% social council housing in all private development, mix of diversity in tenure, so we demand family homes, social amenities, and nurturing the existing communities. And 3, support for the local groups where we have all this local expertise and we are ready to work with the council. To conclude, 1 in 50 people live in temporary accommodation in London, including 1 in 23 people. Southwark Council holds the power to play their part and change this. We recognize the council contribution made in the publication of the report Securing the Future of Council Housing. But just talking about the scale of the crisis, it's not enough to end it. We want to see the council join with tenants, residents, council union, local people, and other councils to put pressure on the government to properly fund council housing. This means actively campaigning, using the council's significant resources in a unified fight for council housing and planning policy that protects, not destroys our communities. Join us to demand true council housing, genuine community engagement, and planning policies that serve people. Homes for people, not for...
Your time is up, please. Thank you. Thank you. Do you have a question for the leader or relevant cabinet member? Okay, you can ask, please.
Will the leader of Southwark Council meet with us, the local expertise, to discuss how we can work together to get the real change we need in housing and planning policies?
Thank you very much for your deputation and congratulations for getting so much into a short time limit that you had to speak through. I wanted to just respond on some of the substantive issues you set out there. Like you, I recognise that in our city, in our country, we face an acute housing crisis, and there is absolutely no denying that. The toll is huge. That's why we've set it out as the first priority in our Southwark 2030 plan, and that's why we have put it as our biggest area of activity as a council. And like you, I see the real cost of that challenge. As I think you quoted the figure, now across London, 1 in 21 children are living in temporary accommodation. And that's something that we cannot accept as a society. The figure for Southwark is 1 in 21 as well. And that's why we're working so hard to address that. So let me talk about some of the things that we are doing. You'll know Southwark has the biggest council house building programme in the country. We've now got over 3,000 homes that we've started or completed. And we will continue to progress that. You referenced the work we've been doing with the new government, the Deputy Prime Minister, the Housing Minister, to set out plans to secure the long-term future of council housing. We held our second Council Housing Summit earlier this month, jointly with Sheffield, in fact, setting out the solutions to that. I'm very glad the government put in another £800,000 of funding for social housing. Clearly more is needed, and we made that case very strongly to them, but very glad they've also made changes on right to buy, other financing for council housing. But again, our plan sets out the need to do much more. Our latest news on that, I should say, I want to say thank you for all of this, much of this work to many people, but including Councillor Helen Dennis. We've had the latest news that we've got another 44 homes approved through planning at Styles House. A really good example of how we've worked with a partner, Transport for London, where there's student housing, which is paying for that council housing. And really importantly, the student housing is paying for that council housing, bringing more money into the pot. I think it's worth saying where we are in Southwark in terms of delivery, because that is a big question that you will rightly ask. So over the last few years, so last year, for example, our planning committee, of all the homes that were approved, 47% were affordable homes. And within that, 33% were at social rents. That means that in London, we had the highest level of social housing starts in the whole city last year. And in terms of homes that were approved, of all the social rent homes that were approved in the city, 2 out of every 5 were here in this borough. Now, I lay all of that out, not to say that that solved the crisis. You said, we know there are 18,000 people on the waiting list for a council home in this borough still, and there are similar numbers across the city, and those numbers are going up. And there is much more to do. That is why I'm delighted that we now have a government that wants to build 1.5 million homes and is talking about council housing being core to that, social housing delivery being core to that, and we will keep working with the government to deliver on that work and do it with them. I do have to say to some of the points you made, I do think it is really important that we do deliver higher density in some places in our borough for all sorts of reasons, including for the climate emergency. We know the long-term solutions to the climate emergency include people living in density around train stations in places that have got great public transport and to live to, and on those sites that we make sure we're delivering homes. There is a reality that no matter how much government puts in, we also need money coming in from the private sector, and some of those private sale homes are helping to pay for those council homes and social rent homes. So we will continue to work with people who are building in the private sector and make sure that they're helping to pay for the homes in our borough that our residents need. And the ones that matter to me are the ones that are truly affordable. It's the social rent home, it's the London Living rent home, it's the ones that our residents can afford. But to deliver those, we can't just use public money. We need to get that private money in there as well. If you want to send me details of your request, I'd be very happy to consider it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I would like to thank the deputation for attending this evening. Officers will escort the deputation to the public sitting area if you wish to listen to the debate. Thank you. Thank you. We will now consider the late question from Councillor Chamberlain. Do you have a supplemental question?
I do, Madam Mayor. And how sad, how shocking to see the new Labour government acting just like the last Tory one in cutting welfare for the most vulnerable in society. The Joseph Rowntree Foundation today said that these cuts would be unprecedented and will put even more pressure on those already struggling to cope. Will the leader join Southwark Liberal Democrats in calling on the government to halt disability welfare cuts, protect personal independence payments, and make those with the broadest shoulders, not the most vulnerable, pay for the Tories' failures?
I'd like to thank the Leader of the Opposition for his question. Slightly odd start to the question, I thought, when he talks about the last Tory government's changes to welfare, which of course were Liberal Democrat changes as well. But anyway, but odd thing to say. Look, the government has set out wide-ranging changes to benefits. There's a whole mix of measures in there, from uplifting parts of the universal credit payment to changing how assessments are done. Many of these are things that have been campaigned long for by voluntary sectors and others. We, like everyone else in this room, have not yet seen the full details. We will consider them very carefully when they're published. We will look at the impacts on our residents, and we will look at how best to make the case for our residents in that response.
Thank you. We shall now consider members' question. As per program motion, we only have 30 minutes for question. So members should ensure that the supplemental question are genuine question rather than speeches. No speeches allowed, please. Councillor Emily Hickson, do you have a supplemental question?
I do. Can the leader update me on the next steps for securing the future of council housing, particularly on the progress made towards the green and decent home standard?
Thank you, Councillor Hickson. So as I mentioned a moment ago, we held our second Council Housing Summit, bringing together councils from across the whole coalition of over 100 councils that supported that work. I'm delighted to say the Housing Minister, Matthew Pennycook, joined us there and set out his commitment to continue to work with us to deliver on that. That has included, really importantly, more money for social housing, changes to rent policy to make sure that council housing is secure, changes to right to buy policy, but there is also more to do, and we were very clear in our report that there's a long-term piece of work to get to council housing back on firm financial footings. One element of that, I'm also delighted to say, thanks to our own local MP, also Minister, Miatin Vollenbrouw, is we have had announcement of additional funding for improving and upgrading homes to make them greener, 8,000 across London. We're just trying to work out how many of those are going to be in Southwark, but a chunk of them will be. Great news for our city and our borough. But we also had a really important conversation at the summit about putting in place work to secure a long-term green and decent homes standard. I've had that discussion directly with the housing minister and indeed Miata in her ministerial role to set out why that is so important, that homes and the interlocking nature of decent, damp, safe, with tackling damp, I should say, with green, lowering energy bills and doing those two things together. They have been both really interested in that conversation, and I will continue to work with them to make sure we secure that standard. As a council, we will be publishing our views on what that standard should look like in the coming days. And I want to thank you, Councillor Hickson, as well as Councillor Dennis and King for their contributions to that work.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Councillor Victor Chamberlain, do you have a supplemental question?
Unfortunately, you've not answered the question because you know that in the last year, Labour have allowed council house building to collapse. There were just 38 new council flats or homes in our borough last year. That's what government shows, contrary to what you said. The government statistics are there. So yet again, we're seeing more smoke and mirrors from Labour over their housing record. How can people have any confidence in this administration's ability to keep your promises on housing when you can't even tell the truth?
Councillor Chamberlain, I don't know how to say this in simpler terms. Southwark Council has the biggest council house building programme in the country of any council in the country. Councillor Chamberlain, we do have rules in this room. The biggest council house building in the country, and let's compare that with the 3 Lib Dem councils in London. How big is their programme? How many have they started? 0, 0 and 0, right?
Please respect the chamber, please. Councillor Margin Evans, do you have a supplemental question?
I do, Madam Mayor. Many thanks. Thank you, Councillor Williams, for the response and the engagement that you've already had, really productive engagement with the e-bike providers. I would like to ask, nevertheless, does the leader agree with me that e-bikes are essential as an alternative form of transport to cars as we continue to clean our air and prioritise active travel in Southwark, but that regulation is needed to ensure that our pavements are kept clear?
Thank you, Councillor Newens, and I couldn't agree more wholeheartedly. I mean, we've seen an amazing uptake of dockless e-bikes across our borough, and they are genuinely getting people out of cars, getting people to travel actively across our borough in vast numbers. That is a great thing, but of course, for it to work properly, it has to work for every resident in our borough, not just those who use the bikes. And whilst we, along with councils across the city, and I've been doing this work in my London Council's role, have been working very hard to get the providers to operate their bikes in a way that doesn't adversely affect other residents, they are definitely not doing that fully yet. They've had some improvements, and I'm glad to see some of them, but they are definitely not doing that yet. I just want to be very clear with everyone, in the rest of the world, in other cities that are successfully doing this, regulation already exists. The last government, Conservative government, refused to regulate in this space. We directly put it to them. They said no. I'm very glad to say the new Labour government has said yes. I met with the Transport Minister on Monday. I discussed this specifically with him. He was extremely clear that we need national regulation, and that regulation allows us to get bikes off the pavements, out of the way of people. And he will be working with all London boroughs and indeed councils and mayors across the country to design a scheme that really works. I'm not leaving it there, though. I have, over the last 2 months, met repeatedly with both Lyme and Forest, and I know Councillor McCash has as well, to set out the things they need to do to improve. They've done some of those things. We're working hard ourselves And James is working very hard to make sure we've got designated bays and you have to park in them in places where the most problems are. But right now, no council has the proper tools to regulate a huge public transport mode that's just suddenly descended on the city. So I want to completely agree. There is huge benefits in this. We have to make it work because of the huge benefits it brings, but we need that regulation. I'm delighted that the government is planning to bring it in quickly.
Thank you. Councillor Mohamedin, do you have a supplemental question?
Yes, I do, Madam Mayor. On the Aylesbury Estate, our residents are facing serious crime and antisocial behavior, particularly around the empty blocks. Can the leader let me know what the council is doing to tackle crime on the Aylesbury?
Thank you, Councillor Dean. And this is a really important issue. I'm really glad to say Councillor Natasha Ennan has been putting in a new approach to this. We're putting in place a specific task force to address issues on in that area, Aylesbury and across into Burgess Park, and working with the police hand in hand to do that, meeting with them repeatedly to put that work in place. And that will mean bringing to bear the full spectrum of the council's work. So whether that's our wardens, antisocial behaviour team, drug and alcohol team, rough sleeper outreach team, parks liaison officers alongside the police, so we can make sure we're making a real change for residents. I'm very glad that you raised it on behalf of your residents.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Councillor David Watson, do you have a supplemental question?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Thank you to the leader for his answer. Having been involved in this process at working level for some years, I'm a bit concerned about the speed of progress here in ensuring that local residents and community groups get access to this important green space, one of the green spaces that was referred to as a mark of success of the administration. So would the leader or cabinet member be prepared to investigate and facilitate a meeting with myself and local stakeholders in the interest of encouraging progress and ensuring that local people can access one of the very rare green spaces that's available in Borough and Bankside Ward?
Well, we're always willing to work with residents to look at how we can extend our green space offer, so I'm sure we can arrange something along those lines.
Thank you. Councillor Ian Wingfield, do you have a supplemental question?
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you. And I'd like to thank the leader for his response. Obviously, I'm far too young to remember 1965, but will the leader join me in celebrating the best borough in London on its 60th anniversary year?
I absolutely will. And it's amazing how much has changed for the better in that period in our borough. And if you think about the growth of business, the full creation of Burgess Park, pretty much a tiny little park it was at the beginning, the amount of homes we built, all those changes, we will absolutely be celebrating them. And also the different waves of communities that we've had come into our borough during that period and enriched it in the process. In order to do that, we're going to be putting together an exhibition that shows some of the cultural history of our borough and how it's changed. And part of that will be a big schools programme that schools can come in, learn about that change, but we'll also be taking it to key venues around the borough as well as other things. And I think it's a really important to mark both the progress, but also what that really has meant for people's lives in that period.
Thank you. Councillor Rachel Bentley, do you have a supplemental question?
I do, thank you, Madam Mayor. So I think SHAPE rather stole my thunder on this one, but it seems, thank you very much for the answer, but it's clear that there still seems to be a gap between this administration's ambition and the needs and views of much of our community. So my question would be, are you really going to commit to that listening exercise and engagement that they asked, not just with SHAPE, but with other communities across the borough, to make sure that this #1 priority, which I think we all share on housing and better use of our land, is properly delivered?
So I think the question there was, are we going to work with our residents to look at particularly housing issues and planning issues across the borough? Absolutely. And we will do that in many, many different ways over the coming years. And as I know, Labour councillors across this room go out and knock on doors and actually talk to people direct in their homes about it on a very regular basis. And it is the big issue that comes up, housing in its many different forms. But formally, the council will be doing that too in a whole host of ways. And I can assure you, we will be talking to thousands of people through that process over the coming years.
Thank you. Councillor Bethan Roberts, do you have a supplemental question?
I do, Madam Mayor, and I thank the leader for his response. As I mentioned earlier, my colleagues and I were lucky enough to go to the new Cannons of Water Leisure Centre, and I know that my residents are keen to know what progress is being made and when we may expect an opening of the leisure centre. Thank you.
I think it's very exciting. I have been down myself, but you've seen it more recently than I, so I'm looking forward to seeing the water in the pool and everything looking fantastic. So to open a new leisure centre in this period, right, after in the wake of 14 years of austerity, to be opening a brand new leisure centre, what a wonderful thing. It's a genuinely spectacular building, bits of it. The engine, the kind of steel girders, that's a kind of understatement, they're enormous, that go across the swimming pool really are quite something. Portia, remind me, when do we think we're going to open? Summer this year. Projects like this never have a precise date, we all know that, but summer this year, we're really looking forward to getting into that pool.
Councillor Graham, do you have a supplemental question?
Certainly have. Thank you, Madam Mayor. And Leader, thank you for your response. I disagree with your analysis. My understanding is that leaseholders of council properties have a responsibility to retain those for people to live in rather than to be run as businesses. So could I ask you to go back and double check that? And similarly, I understand that if somebody's running a business by law that they need to have a waste carriers agreement. So if someone's running a business using premises in Southwark, they may need to have a formal waste disposal agreement rather than relying on domestic waste as residents paying their domestic council tax. And so in that respect, I feel that my question says, what is the council doing? You've well answered what other agencies are doing, but I wondered if the council could be more, could try harder, to put simply. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your supplementary question there. I didn't quite get the bit on leaseholders, but I will definitely check it after with you and come back. The point about waste licensing is an interesting one. I don't know what's possible there, but again, we will check that. In terms of action, just to be clear, as the answer says, the council is taking enforcement action against people who are letting private properties for more than 90 days, and you've seen the detail of that. And we take enforcement action against people in our own homes who are breaching their tenancies as well. So, but I will follow up with you on those other points afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Clearly Turns, do you have a supplemental questions?
I do, Madam Mayor, thank you. And I thank the leader for his response. National Apprenticeship Week took place in February. Can the leader update me on what progress has been made against the council's commitment to creating 2,000 apprenticeships in the borough, please? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. First thing I'd say is I think apprenticeships are incredibly important and underrated in our society, and having met and spoken with many apprentices over the years through this role and the preceding one, and some of those are school leavers, some of those have been in their 50s or more. I know how much they can be a fantastic route into a better career. But the answer to your question, so we had a target of 2,000 over 4 years, and we're now 3 years in and we have hit 1,700 apprenticeships created. Fantastic progress, and thank you, John, to you and your whole team who've been doing that work.
Well done. We just managed to finish exactly 15 minutes. Well done to you. Now we're moving on to question to cabinet members. Councillor Michael Situ, do you have a supplemental question?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I thank Councillor Koto, the cabinet member, for being very clear as to the strong support being provided to residents in Hill Health. Can the cabinet member provide more details on the council's health on the High Street programme?
Thank you, Councillor Situ, for your supplementary question. And I'm glad you asked that question because this is my baby. So please pardon me as I go into details about what we're doing. So the Health on a High Street programme has various components, but essentially it's about bringing health promotion and health improvement onto our communities. This initiative is crucial to the preventative agenda. So a principle in our 2030 vision and aligns with the NHS strategic shift from sickness to prevention. We often hear the term hard to reach, which illustrates or seem to suggest that we have individuals or groups who are either reluctant to engage with us or that we don't know where they are. This is a total lie. We know the reason why some of our communities don't engage, and we know exactly where they are. And this program addresses these challenges by making it easier for our residents to access health and support. So the Health Outreach Program is the forefront of this initiative. It's bringing vital health services together to our communities. And some of you would have seen the health van in some of your events, and they're going around the borough. We currently have over 200 community ambassadors, and I'm so proud that they reflect the outlook or the makeup of our residents. So our health ambassadors are working with our health professionals, going to the communities, providing health check, cancer screening, health and weight checks, mental health advice, and guidance. And this is what we need to do more. Secondly, we've established Southwark Health Hubs for Health. And these are static hubs at popular locations. So you might have seen them at Time and Talent in Surrey Keys or Castle Square, among others. And this offer ensures that residents have consistent access to these services. Additionally, we have barbershop and hairdresser champion programs. Now, I attended the first training, and we're training our barbershop, we're training our hairdressers to be able to spot the first sign of mental health and give advice and support accordingly. Our barbers and hairdressers have so many people coming and sitting in their chairs, and they see at times what is happening to our residents. So we are arming them to be able to support. And lastly, we have our health kiosks. I think earlier on, I'm not sure who mentioned it, but we have a health kiosk in our leisure facilities, and we have one across the way. So before you leave, please try it out. But it's provided free self-service in libraries and leisure centres, and we're expanding this to high street locations such as supermarkets and shopping centres. We want to make it easier for our residents to be able to take ownership of their health and to get the access and support they need.
Thank you. Councillor Charlie Smith, do you have a supplemental question?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Before I do, can I just also congratulate you on your mayoral year? It's been a smashing year. And can I say that I hope to be with you on April the 5th at your ball at the Globe, and I would ask everyone else to try and buy a very reasonably priced ticket for what will be a wonderful evening. Anyway, my supplementary question is, what does the council, what future plans do the council have for residential care in our borough? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith, for your question. And before I answer, can I just take this opportunity to say a huge thank you for your continued support. I mean, you advocate so strongly for our elder communities within the borough. And so I am so grateful for your work and for your support in what I do. I want to emphasize our commitment and dedication to meeting the growing needs of quality service and ensuring that residents have access to safe and supportive living environment. The need of our residents is changing and is becoming complex. We are living longer, residents are living longer, but however, we're living longer in ill health. And so there's a need for us to be future-proofing our housing provision and making sure that what we are providing basically stands the test of time. To this end, we are looking closely at the options to meet future demand and ensure that this is provided within borough. Some of you would have known that, I said many years ago, we had to, a lot of people that needed residential care had to go outside the borough because we didn't have enough spaces within Southwark. I'm happy to say that 75% of new care home placement have been sourced within Southwark, a great improvement. But we know we've got some way to go, and so we're working on it. So what I will also say is that we are very much on the subject and we are dedicated to improving this. And so I just want to mention that our Deputy Cabinet Member for Supported Living, which is Councillor Dalton, where's Councillor Dalton? Councillor Dalton, he's leading a piece of work on older people's housing strategy. And this is precisely to make sure that we are meeting the residential care needs in our borough. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sandra Rule, do you have a supplemental question?
Yes, Madam Mayor. I would like to ask the leader to update me on the work being done to tackle crime and antisocial behaviour in Nunhead and Queen's Road.
In Councillor Ennon's absence, I will definitely answer this question for you. We are currently going through a big bit of work to improve how the council's role in addressing community safety across the borough. I'm delighted to say we now have around 100 officers who work on this, and that ranges from our wardens, through to our antisocial behaviour team, to the people who watch our CCTV 24 hours a day, to our drug outreach team and our rough sleeping outreach team as well. Really important services across the borough. We're looking at how we can make sure they are targeted in the areas that need that support for the longest. I know Councillor Ennin did a recent walkabout with ward councillors where you pointed out some of the key issues that needed addressing in your ward, and I know she'll be following up directly with you and with your residents to make sure you see progress, and more importantly your residents do as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor William. Councillor Irina von Weiss, do you have a supplemental question?
I do. Thank you for your response. I didn't quite understand it though. And in particular, I was wondering why did it take for the report, why did it take almost a year and a half to be brought back to the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, and what exactly will be in the report to give assurances to the residents of Devon Mansions and the Canada estates that they will finally receive the refund that they're due? Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Councillor von Weiss, for your follow-up. I really appreciate your supplementary question because I've just reread the answer and don't think it's actually clear enough in terms of actually talking through why. I'm conscious you asked the question why there have been repeated delays. The vast majority of those delays to the programme of work that we've been doing in terms of the internal review and the external review have actually been very conscious decisions to slow down those two investigations. We have had several requests from residents of both estates asking to play a much more full role in those reviews. So, for example, we have agreed with residents that we wanted to meet on several occasions as part of those residents' meetings so that they would have opportunities to talk both to the internal team but also to Pellings, who are the consultants that are doing the external work. So a lot of that delay has been very clearly programmed into the work that we have been, which we committed to overview and scrutiny. So I was conscious that the answer didn't make clear that it was a conscious decision in many cases to slow that work down. There was one significant delay, which I think is useful to explain. When we went out to consultants to try and bring on board an internal organisation to help with those reviews, which was part of the commitment we made to overview and scrutiny, we actually received very little interest from those who were qualified in the sector to be able to help us with that work. So the process of procuring that consultant did take quite a lot longer than we had hoped for in terms of being able to progress that work. That has now successfully taken place with bringing Pellings on board. We involved residents in that procurement process, so while they couldn't assess competitive bids, they were involved in by forming a panel of residents who could challenge the consultant and could make sure that they were shaping their future work. So I hope that provides you with an understanding that most of those delays have been intentional, and they are about making sure we re-establish trust with those residents and that we give them the fullest opportunity to be involved. We're expecting to report back to Overview and Scrutiny in April or early May. I'll update on that now. And at that meeting, we will bring a comprehensive report for both estates, which combines the work of the Task and Finish Group and the work of the independent consultant. And both of those reports will have gone to residents in advance of coming to Overview and Scrutiny so that they will have full sight of what we're reporting so they can also attend meetings and give their feedback.
Thank you, Councillor King. Councillor Nick Johnson, do you have a supplemental question?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, I do. And thank you to Councillor McCash for his reply regarding the Lower Road redesign. One brief question. Do we know any estimates on what the likely cost of that redesign will be?
Well, the simple answer is we don't know yet. So we're at kind of the initial design stages. We're actually planning on sharing those designs with you and your ward colleagues fairly soon. The plan was to do it today, but the officer who was to be doing that is actually on leave. We're going to put it in the diary as soon as possible, and then the idea is we'll go and consult with the wider public.
Thank you. Councillor Sunil Chopra, do you have a supplemental question?
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you very much. Thank you to Councillor James McCash for your answer. My supplement question is, can you please explain on the work being done to improve the walking routes in London Bridge and West Bermondsey and across Southwark? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chopra. And can I say what an intelligent question that is?
So this is the Streets for People delivery plan, which I've discovered recently not everyone reads before they go to bed each evening. And I can see why, because once you've read it, you can be so giddy with excitement, it is quite hard to see. But in that sets out the whole borough divided into a series of zones, like an episode of Crystal Maze. And your zone, Councillor Chopra, is Zone B. And Zone B, you'll be pleased to hear, is right at the top of the list for the ones that we're going to approach first. And we're going to be looking at removing traffic from through routes and putting in protections on those main roads so that it's possible to walk and cycle around your ward, but indeed everyone's ward happily and safely. So we'll get further details on Zone B with you soon, and in fact with the other zones which we're prioritising, which include Zone A, Zone F, Zone I and Zone J. And if you don't know what that means, it's time to read the Streets for People delivery plan so that you do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Maggie Browning, you have a supplemental question.
I do, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much to Councillor King for her answer on major works on the Freehan Road estate. My question to her is, what improvements can be made to the Freehan Road estate in the short and medium term, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Browning, for your supplementary. First of all, I did want to say I really do share the concern with your residents about having major works delayed on the Freehan Road estate. I'm conscious that is the case for residents across the borough in terms of where they had major works programmed later on in that programme, and that we have had to take that decision to really prioritise building safety and health and safety works across all of our estates in response to new regulatory environments, and also in terms of providing real reassurance to our tenants and our leaseholders that they live in safe housing. In terms of the short to medium term, we have across the borough been prioritising repair action days. They are hugely popular with our residents. It's an opportunity for lots of our repairs teams to go down onto an estate and do a huge amount of work in terms of outstanding repairs and new ones that haven't yet been reported. It's been great fun to do quite a few in Queen's Road and Nunhead recently. And there is a schedule across the whole borough, and ward councillors tend to let know kind of weeks in advance when they will be taking place. So I would always encourage ward councillors to attend their repair action days. So that is something I'd be really keen to take away and have a look at, is whether we can get Freehan Road Estate into that programme, recognising that they haven't got dates for major works at the moment. I will also take away whether there is other short-term actions like deep cleans that could take place to try and kind of give some love and attention to an estate in need. In the more medium term, I've been learning a lot about engineering and how you pump water to the top of a hill and then how you pump it to the top of a building. So I can now confirm you have cold mains water accumulators on Freehan Road Estate, but you don't have boosters. So from talking to the engineering team, I have asked them that they could attend a future Tenants and Residents Association meeting so that they can talk to residents and get a really fuller understanding of the challenges of water pressure that I know that you have there, to see if there's action we can be taking either ourselves or putting pressure, or that's an awful useful word, on Thames Water for action that they might need to take in terms of ensuring that there is a stronger water pressure and a constant supply there.
Thank you. Councillor Cassandra Brown, do you have a supplemental question?
Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Williams, not Councillor Williams, sorry, Councillor Batterson, for your response. And I'd like to ask specifically about how this will benefit South Bermondsey. The town centre action plans sound great, but there's lots of issues around businesses struggling and the cost of living crisis, and of course making sure that key centres in the ward like Thoroughgoods actually represent the community and deliver for the community.
Thank you, Councillor Brown, for your supplemental question, and to all the South Bermondsey councillors for the hard work that they're doing in the area, and for the conversations that we've had, which have helped shape the Bermondsey Town Centre Action Plan. We created tailored Town Centre Action Plans for each of the areas where we've committed to delivering major improvements. They are online now, so we encourage everyone to take a look at them. We'll be carrying out lots of engagement on them. Specifically for Bermondsey, so she and the ward councillors will know that we have committed now to, well, we promised now to deliver deliver the multi-art space to the Blue. Bermondsey 223, which is on offer, providing the most accessible form of art in photography. That will be open by this time next year, and we will be working very closely with the community to make sure that that brings social value to it. We'll continue to build on our commercial letting strategy in and around the Blue to make sure the area continues to offer a diverse shopping offer. Also make sure it benefits from the nearby biscuit factory development, and we'll be implementing targeted initiatives to make sure Bermondsey is a cleaner, safer and more vibrant place for everybody to spend time.
Thank you. We have now come to the end of our members' question time as 30 minutes has lapsed. We are now moving to item 5.2, members' motion. Councillor Victor Chamberlain to move motion 1, and you have 5 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Tonight, this side of the chamber stand here in firm opposition to the cruel, unjust and indefensible two-child welfare cap, a policy introduced by the Conservatives, now maintained by Labour, and one that continues to devastate thousands of families here in Southwark. The facts are stark. Over 7,600 children in Southwark are currently suffering because of this policy. That's 12% of all the children in our borough. And let's be absolutely clear, this isn't just about numbers. These are real children. These are children going to bed at night and going to school in the morning hungry. They're struggling to keep warm. They're growing up in poverty. Their life chances are going to be affected by this. This is a deliberate political choice. The impact of this cap is undeniable. Research shows consistently that it does nothing to improve employment outcomes. It punishes children for the circumstances of their birth, plunging families into hardship. So why are we debating this? Because, disgracefully, Southwark Labour refuses to stand up for the most vulnerable. Last time we voted on this in July 2024, every single Labour councillor in this chamber voted to keep the two-child cap in place. Every single one, Madam Mayor. How can they justify that when over 36% of children in this borough are growing up in poverty? And let's not forget, the Labour leader even stood right there and said he'll hold the feet of the Labour government to the fire. He said Labour would not give Labour ministers an easy ride. But what have they done since? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Instead of fighting for the families that they represent, this administration have meekly fallen in line. Let's not pretend this is something Labour have to do. Across the country, more progressive Labour groups, more progressive Labour councils have stood up and they have opposed the cap. It's only Southwark Labour that are choosing to have no courage in standing up to their government. Even the United Nations has called on this UK government to scrap the two-child benefit cap and to boost disability payments. Yet Labour have now confirmed that they're going to fail on both of those fronts. Even more shamefully, the Labour leadership in Southwark have failed to call them out on it tonight when asked. Colleagues, this policy is not just indefensible, it's not just immoral, it's economically illiterate. Child poverty is estimated to cost our economy £39 billion a year. Yet the Labour government claim they can't afford to find £1.3 billion it would take to scrap this policy. That is not fiscal responsibility, it's a disgraceful political choice. And let's be honest, if Labour won't change course now, when will they? If they won't listen to the evidence, if they won't listen to the families suffering in our wards under your watch, and if they won't listen to their own party members who know that this policy is wrong, when will they? Southwark Labour still have the chance to do the right thing. It's not too late to show some courage, to listen to the evidence, to stand up for the thousands of families suffering in this borough, and to demand that this policy is scrapped once and for all. We, as the Liberal Democrats, have been consistent. We opposed this policy when the Conservatives introduced it. We opposed it in 2017, in 2019, in 2024, and we will keep opposing it until it is gone. So tonight, I ask every Labour colleague here, who do you represent? Do you represent the children of Southwark who are suffering because of this policy? Or do you represent the Labour leadership that tells you to keep it? You promised that you would stand up for Southwark. You promised to fight for those in need. It's time to prove it. Scrap the two-child cap now. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Rachel Bentley to second motion 1. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I am proud to second this motion calling for the abolition of the two-child benefit cap. This is a policy that should shame us all. It pushes children into poverty and it punishes certain families for simply existing. We've heard the figures already, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't hear them again. Millions of children are affected and thousands of families right here in Southwark. But I want to focus on what this really means in practice. It's not just some abstract budget line. It's the reason parents are skipping meals so their children can eat. It's why families are turning to food banks across the borough in record numbers. And it's why some children in our borough are going to school hungry, unable to concentrate and falling behind their peers, damaging them for life. Teachers in Southwark have reported seeing pupils turn up exhausted because the families simply do not have enough to get by. And many are working families, trapped in low-paid jobs who cannot escape poverty because of this government-imposed limit that is limiting that vital support that they need. And the injustice is staggering. The cap applies even when a third or a fourth child is born into a family that was financially stable at one time. We've all seen examples of job losses, illnesses, or the cost of living crisis that affected everybody, that turned the world upside down. This policy is so inhumane. There's no flexibility, no compassion, and no recognition of life's realities. And the government is quite literally saying that a third child deserves less food, less security, and fewer opportunities than their older siblings. It is immoral. And actually, I know you all agree with me. And yet, despite this Labour government, your parliamentary colleagues, refused to act. For years, they denounced this policy. Angela Rayner called it inhumane, and it is. But now they're in power, they've decided to stick to this Tory spending plan rather than keep their promises to the country's poorest children. And we know that putting more money in families' pockets is the one way that you get people out of poverty. And then this week, we've seen these £5 billion of welfare cuts attacking disabled people's ability to access support and tightening the squeeze on those already struggling. That is also immoral, and you know it. Estimates show that removing this two-child benefit cap would actually save more money for the economy than it would cost. It would free people from these situations in which they are. It is a political choice. And by not getting rid of it, you are choosing to entrench child poverty. So take this opportunity to take a stand today to send a message to the Prime Minister, the Chancellor, and our local MPs to scrap the cap. We've opposed it from the beginning. We're not going to stop fighting until it's gone. Please ask yourself, do you really support this austere policy? Put your party for once behind the people of this borough. Vote with us. Thank you.
Thank you. There is one amendment to the motion. Councillor Jasmine Ali to move Amendment B. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Madam Mayor, it's a bit distasteful, really, for the Liberal Democrats to lecture anyone on the impact of child poverty. The Lib Dems, the co-founders of austerity. The Lib Dems, the architects behind 1/3 of council spending cuts since 2010. The Lib Dems whose actions unleash the brutal cuts that plunge so many of our families into desperate need. They reversed the Labour Party's work in lifting millions of people out of poverty when they came into office, and they have left 38% of children in poverty. Southwark Labour have a proud record of stepping in and supporting struggling families. This administration had to step in the wake of the carnage that you and your party, coalition government, inflicted on this borough, and step up we did. In the darkest days, we kept all of our Shore Star children's centres open. We brought free school meals, free swim and gym, free breakfast clubs, holiday funds. We drove up education standards and narrowed attainment gaps between pupils from disadvantaged backgrounds and their better off counterparts. We set up a scholarship fund that paid for over 100 young people from low income households to go to university. We were the first local authority to start an ambitious housing building programme. We were the first local authority to pledge support for 100% of children with a diagnosable mental health need. We have given 53 million of support for over 100,000 households, and I could go on. Why? Because Labour is serious about tackling child poverty. Last time we were in government, we halved child poverty in a decade, and now we are back to clean up the Tories' mess. This time, we began working on our child poverty strategy within months of entering office. I've already submitted Southwark's contribution to the Child Poverty Task Force, reflecting the impact of decades of austerity on families in this borough. When it comes to children, the opposition always act like bulls in china shops. I mean, whether it's special education needs, whether it's children in care, firing off press releases which are unfounded, firing off motions like this. Why haven't you, why don't you behave like an opposition and find out what we are doing? That said, I want to assure you that I'm in contact with the Secretary of State. I've worked through the details of what we can and should be doing at conference and roundtables with the leading children's charities. The Labour government is listening. Madam Mayor, remember this. Every Labour government always improves the lives of those with the least, lifts more children out of poverty, revives the NHS, schools and local councils. Madam Mayor, Council Assembly, please vote with Councillor Soames and me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Clear-Jones, to second Amendment B, you have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We know that 4.3 million children are growing up in poverty in the UK today. But more significantly, 9 children out of an average classroom of 30 are living in poverty. And yes, 900,000 children in poverty in England currently miss out on free school meals, but not here in Southwark. Colleagues, it's been over a decade since I last taught in the Southwark school. And even at that time, it was commonplace to bear witness to parents balancing the challenge of bringing up a child to meet their everyday needs with very little money in their pockets. In other words, the challenge of putting food in their mouths, no matter the quality, and sending them off to school with a packed lunch because in reality, they couldn't afford to pay for their child or children to enjoy a hot meal with their mates. And in that packed lunch, well, it was not unusual to see an isolated packet of Oreo biscuits. It was not unusual to see a packet of Haribos. It was not unusual to see multiple packets of crisps, but it became the norm to see a container of cold chicken and rice left over from the previous night's meal, or more alarmingly, a simple tub of cold baked beans, not a fruit or sandwich in sight. But it took a former Southwark Labour administration to take a lead and recognise this problem and put things right. We introduced free healthy school meals to our primary age children across all schools in Southwark when the Lib Dem Tory coalition repeatedly voted against it. Shame on you. And then tried to adopt it as their own. Madam Mayor, even at that time, we recognised what a difference it would make to a young person's well-being and life chances if he or she experienced the joy of consuming a guaranteed daily nutritious hot meal, the benefits of which improve concentration amongst our young people, behaviour in the classroom and attainment levels. In the 10 years plus since we first rolled out free healthy school meals in Southwark, our schools have risen from close to the bottom of the league to 70 to 90% rating of excellent. But it doesn't stop there. It cannot be right that child poverty has gone up yet again by 700,000 since 2010. So the work of Southwark Labour's administration to support children and families in our borough and help alleviate poverty continues. We are proud to be the lead custodians of the most comprehensive free healthy school meals offer for children in the country, which has improved reading skills, reduced childhood obesity and increased financial support to households. But it isn't restricted to term time only. We are looking after our children and families during the holidays too. So yet again, we have proven that we don't duck the challenges and that it will only take a Labour administration to transform the children and family lives for the better and lift them out of poverty. I know the children and families who reside in my ward, Peckham, recognise and welcome our efforts too. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any members wish to speak on the motion or Amendment B? I've got 3 names here: Councillor Catherine Rose, Councillor Emily Tester, and Councillor Irina von Weiss. All right, Councillor Catherine Rose, you've got 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Early this evening, we debated parks, green spaces, leisure and libraries. The debate was long overdue because we debate the big politics often in this chamber around finances, housing, health and social care, the education needs of our children, the impact of the pandemic, our economy, jobs and inclusive local growth. But the impact of all of these is most acutely felt through the eyes of our children, the poverty of our children and their families, and the levels of homelessness that our children have to endure. We have significant statutory duties around our children. And whilst we have some statutory duties around our library services, we don't have a statutory duty around our parks, green spaces and leisure services, which is, in my mind, this is an anomaly that needs correcting because these services, so-called discretionary, when combined with the library service, provide the infrastructure of childhood. It is the infrastructure that supports all our children outside of the home that they live in, the income of their family, and the school that they go to. It seems remiss to me that we only have a duty to provide a school place for children, but not a place for them to play. And do not talk to us about courage around the lives of our children. Do not talk to us about courage around our needs to address child poverty and our response to it. We didn't have a duty to feed our children at school, but we chose to do so when others told us not to, and we did. We didn't have a duty to provide and guarantee mental health support for all our children, but we felt as though we must do it, and we do, and we continue to do that. The most further significant action we could do to enhance the lives and lived experience of our children would be to integrate our leisure, library, parks and green spaces strategies. I welcome tonight's commitment to deliver a green spaces plan, but let us achieve our higher ambition in the same tradition of those municipal leaders before us that saw the green transformation of our borough to benefit and enrich the lives of children, young people and their families. Through the expansion of our parks, libraries, youth clubs and sports facilities, we enriched and transformed the life chances of previous generations, and we must do the same for this generation now. We must galvanise ourselves in the tradition of our predecessors to campaign and secure leisure services, parks and green spaces as a local authority statutory duty, putting it on a par with our other children's services and ensure that we can continue to use our courage to challenge government and deliver better outcomes for all our children.
Thank you. Councillor Emily Tester, you've got 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's with a heavy heart that I speak in this debate, especially after the frankly indefensible welfare cuts announced in Parliament yesterday. As a relatively young left-leaning person in politics, I've lost count of the number of times I've been asked, why aren't you in the Labour Party? But after some pretty disastrous Tory governments, I do have to admit that I was actually a bit optimistic about having a Labour government 6 months ago. But if you told me in 2017, when the Tories introduced this two-child benefit cap, that Labour in government would actually support it, I'd have thought you were joking. Right now, you are no better than the Tories. If anything, you're worse because you hide behind rhetoric. This is just one of the many reasons that I would never support the Labour Party. In North Bermondsey, some of the residents struggling most are those with large families. They live in overcrowded housing, barely affording rising bills and rent. And at the end of the day, it's these kids who are suffering most. A 2023 LSE study showed the impact of the benefit cap on children. One autistic child who found school very difficult had to give up dance lessons, the one place that she felt happy because of the cost. Another was so anxious about school photos, knowing that their parents couldn't afford a haircut, that it made them physically sick. If you haven't watched Adolescence on Netflix, I'd really recommend it. It highlights just how difficult it is to be a child right now and how badly it can go wrong. Life is hard enough for kids right now. Why are you making it even harder? There is an alternative to blindly supporting this government. Labour in Leicester voted to call for the abolition of the two-child cap and to focus on eradicating child poverty. I also want to address your amendment to the motion. Without outing myself as quite rapidly approaching 30, I need to mention something that disappoints me every single council assembly. Every single time there's a reference to the coalition. That was 15 years ago. In 2010, I was 14. I was spotty, I was awkward, and not as into Marxism as James McCash was at that age. More than half my lifetime has passed since the coalition began. And I don't think you appreciate how out of date and out of touch you sound when you keep bringing it up. We've had 6 governments since. The world has changed and your messages should too. Every layer of government in Southwark is now run by Labour. If I were to give you some advice, which I know you're not going to take, it would be this. Take a hard look in the mirror, stop blaming governments
You've got
more than a
30 seconds
decade ago,
remaining.
and start taking responsibility for your frankly indefensible policies. I hope you support our motion and vote against the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Irina von Weiss, you've got the 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, not many people looking up anymore. I don't think there is anything that I can say that all of you don't already think. As a member of the European Parliament, I used to fight conservative and far-right parties, often on the same side with Social Democrat and Socialist parties in Europe. I did not imagine that 5 years later, I would stand in this chamber and fight against Labour from the left, having to remind my Labour colleagues that their party stands for protecting the poorest in our society, that fiscal consolidation and boosting economic growth should not come at the expense of protecting the most vulnerable, that cutting support to those who rely on our help, both here and abroad, will ultimately drive these people to vote for far-right populists here and abroad. And before you return to the usual Lipcon coalition austerity narrative, yes, I am aware that Liberal Democrats supported the welfare reform in 2012, but none of these measures went as far as the cuts now proposed by a Labour government, not a coalition, but a whopping Labour majority. While Liberal Democrats introduced a pupil premium for young children, Labour is punishing larger families. And by the way, none of the 2012 reforms for disability benefits were nearly as harsh as the humiliating eligibility tests now tabled by this Labour government. Yes, we made mistakes during the coalition, but that ended 10 years ago, and we are talking about today. Today, literally today, we are told to expect not just a frankly disgraceful attack on disabled people, but a whole barrage of cuts, incapacity benefits freeze, youth benefit restrictions, universal credit adjustments, all of this on top of the shameful 2-child benefit cap. I know you don't like this either. I know you feel ashamed about this, your government. Now, have the guts and hold them to account. Vote for this motion. Thank you.
Councillor Victor Chamberlain to reply. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, what we've seen tonight is just spin, smoke, mirrors, and smoke and mirrors. An amendment designed not to help struggling families, but to distract from the fact that they are standing by this cruel, indefensible policy. The deputy leader says she mentions the coalition, but let me remind you that this was a policy, a disgraceful policy that was introduced by a 2017 Tory majority government and is now being supported by a majority Labour government. So many, so many of us did share that optimism that Councillor Tester spoke about in July. We thought things have to get better. They're not, are they? We know they're not. Look at the benefits. Look at the what's happened in the news this week. Look at how you've treated pensioners. This is not a government that's showing your progressive values. So I really do sympathise, because you must really struggle with supporting it. Councillor Soames, you mentioned the scale of child poverty and the unacceptable levels that are here in this borough after many, many decades of Labour government. Let's be absolutely clear about what Labour have done tonight. They've deleted the research and from the End Child Poverty Coalition, research that proves that 2-child cap is pushing 1.5 million children into poverty, research that shows that scrapping it would lift 2,500 children out of poverty overnight and ease hardship for another 850,000. Why delete those facts? Because you don't want to face them. Because you know that keeping this policy is indefensible. But instead, what you've done is filled your amendment with warm words and long lists of other policies. And even tonight, you haven't actually spoken about the welfare cap. But none of that excuses the fact that you are supporting a policy that is deliberately making families poorer in our borough. Labour colleagues, I plead with you, I ask you to really think this through. Are you seriously going to vote to support the last Tory government's policy? As Councillor Von Wiese said, have some guts. By voting for this amendment, you are saying that you support this cap. You are saying that you are okay with the fact that 7,600 children in Southwark are being pushed deeper into poverty because of it. You are saying that you are happy to stand behind a Labour government that is refusing to scrap it, even when every piece of evidence tells us that this policy is cruel, damaging, and utterly unjustifiable. Does that really sit right with you? Does that really sit right with your values? Can you, hand in heart, go back to your members,
You have 30
many of
seconds
whom have stood with us to oppose this cap over the years, and tell them that you voted for this tonight? I urge you, don't do this. Don't let party loyalty come before what is right. Other Labour groups have shown courage, as Councillor Tester said. You should do the same. Vote against this amendment. Stand with the children and families in Southwark that need you, not with the politicians who are making their lives harder. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I shall now move to the vote on Amendment B to Motion 1. Those in favour of Amendment B? Those against? Any abstentions? The amendment is carried. I shall now start. I shall sorry, my voice. I shall now move to the vote on motion 1. Those in favour of substantive motion 1? As amended.
42, Madam Mayor.
Those against?
10, Madam Mayor.
No abstentions. The motion is carried. We shall now move to motion 5.2.2. Motion 2. Councillor Sam Dalton to move motion 2. You have 5 minutes to speak.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Just like to start by paying tribute to the Migrant Democracy Project for all of their great work they do to empower migrants to actively participate in politics and democracy. It's been great to work with them on this motion, and great also to have them behind me in the audience tonight, listening to the debate. This is an issue we care about deeply in Southwark. We welcome and provide a home to people and cultures from all over the world. In 2024, we were recognised as a borough of sanctuary for the welcome and opportunities that we provide to people from overseas. And this is particularly important when you consider that 40% of all residents in Southwark were born outside of the UK, which is over 121,000 people in total. So the work to promote democracy and participation among this huge section of the population here is really important. Why have we brought this motion forward right now? Well, the Elections Act is a piece of national legislation which has changed the voting rights of EU citizens in this country, among doing other things such as bringing in mandatory voter ID. What this means is that EU citizens that have entered the UK from the start of 2021 onwards have lost their voting and candidacy rights in local elections, including here. This is apart from a select few countries in Europe, such as Poland, Luxembourg, Portugal, Spain, and Denmark, where we have bilateral voting treaties. Other countries not included. This has created an unequal, unfair, imbalanced kind of lottery of which country you're from and the voting rights that you have as a result. And it's also caused confusion. It's placed an additional burden on local authorities, including us, to remove people from the electoral register that were previously on it. And as well as those inequalities, there's also an inequality geographically within the UK, which is that Scotland and Wales have actually brought in residence-based voting rights for those with legal immigration status for local and devolved elections, but we don't have that here at the moment. So ultimately what we're calling for in this motion is basically for those voting rights in local elections to be extended to all qualifying foreign nationals in line with that same eligibility in Scotland and Wales that exists. And in the meantime, before that can happen, we're also calling for other steps to be taken, such as here for a strategy for council officers to ensure that nobody is wrongly removed from the electoral register due to the Elections Act. We'll also continue our really important work across the borough to promote voter registrations and make sure people know about ID requirements wherever they are. And it's really good as well to be joining now over 15 other local authorities and counting in passing a motion like this, including our neighbours in Lewisham and Lambeth. This motion and our calls for the extended franchise will strengthen our position as a borough of sanctuary in Southwark. It's more fair, it's more equal, and it's more democratic.
Thank you. Councillor Joseph Bambe to second motion 2. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And like Councillor Dalton, I would like to thank the Migrant Democracy Project, particularly Zaya Nasheed, for their research on this and the broader work they are doing in this field. Southwark has always been a welcoming borough for generations. People across the world, Africa, Asia, Europe, Latin America, and the Middle East have made this place their home. They work here, they raise their families here, contribute to our economy, and enrich our communities. It is because of this rich diversity that we were recognized as a borough of sanctuary in 2024, a title that reflects our commitment to inclusion, opportunity, and fairness. Yet, despite this, too many of our residents, our neighbours, our colleagues, and our friends are denied one of the most fundamental rights in a democracy, the right to vote. More than 1 million people across England and Northern Ireland, including thousands here in Southwark, are excluded from local elections simply because of where they were born. This is an injustice. These residents pay taxes, use public services, send their children to our schools, and contribute to our communities. They deserve to have a say in the decisions that affect their daily lives. Scotland and Wales have already recognised this, granting voting rights to all residents with lawful immigration status. It is time for England and Northern Ireland to follow suit. The Elections Act has made voting rights even more confusing, creating an unequal system where some EU citizens have the right to vote, while others, those who have arrived after 2021, cannot. This is not just unfair, but it risks reduced voter turnout and further excludes already under-registered communities from the democratic process. Now, Southwark is the home to more than 121,000 residents born outside the UK, over 40% of our population. If we truly believe in a democracy, in fairness, and in representing the people that we serve, we must ensure that every resident has a voice. That is why I wholeheartedly support this motion. By calling on the government to extend the franchise, delivering training for councillors and officers, and working with the voluntary sector to ensure residents understand their voting rights, we are taking a stand for democracy. Southwark has always led the way in promoting inclusion, so let's do so again today. Thank you.
Thank you. There are no amendments. Do any members wish to speak on the motion? Each member has 3 minutes to speak. I have Maria Linford Hall. Anyone else? All right. Maria Linford Hall, you have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I rise today to fully support this motion as it aligns with the work that I have been actively engaged in helping Latin American residents in Southwark and the rest of London to register to vote and exercise their democratic rights. Southwark has long been a battle of diversity and inclusivity, enriched by communities from Africa, Asia, Europe, and Latin America, and the Middle East. It is this very diversity that strengthens our society, our culture, and our local economy. In 2024, we were rightfully recognized as the barrio of Sanctuary, reflecting the values that define us as a welcoming and inclusive community. Yet, despite our barrios' openness, barriers remain for many migrant communities, particularly regarding voting rights. Democracy only works when everyone has the opportunity to participate. However, the Elections Act has introduced complexities that risk excluding many voters, migrants. For Latin Americans and other communities, language barriers and the lack of understanding of the voting process further limited participation. I have seen first how difficult it can be for many to navigate the system, and I firmly believe that local authorities might play an active role in bridging this gap. 1 in 6 residents in England and Wales were born outside the UK. They work, study, use public services, and contribute significantly to our society. Yet over 1 million of them are denied the right to vote. Scotland and Wales are already extended local voting rights to all lawful residents. And I strongly support the call for England and Northern Ireland to follow suit. Southwark should join the 15 other local authorities and demanding a fair and exclusive electoral system. The removal of voting rights for certain EU citizens who arrived after 2021 is deeply concerning. This creates an unjust two-tier system where some EU citizens can vote while others cannot. Moreover, the complexity of these changes risks deterring voter participation, particularly among migrant communities who also face lower registration rates. Southwark Council must ensure that these changes do not lead to wrongful removals from the electoral register and that residents are properly informed on their voting rights. We must work closely with voluntary organizations, provide language support, and develop a clear strategy to prevent eligible voters from being disenfranchised.
You have no time remaining. Your time is up. No, time is up. Thank you. Councillor Charlie Smith, you have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Is my light on? I suppose it is, yeah. Along with yourself and with the Deputy Mayor and other past mayors, I have the privilege to adjudicate at the citizenship ceremonies in the registry office in Peckham Road. It's a wonderful and uplifting ceremony, it really is. People from all over the world who've come to stay and live in Southwark take the decision to become British citizens. They spend quite a bit of money on it, you know, through the Home Office, and then have to answer loads of questions. But when about 20 at a time, I did one yesterday afternoon actually, and I come away beaming because these folks have committed themselves not just to Great Britain, but to Southwark as well. And the registrar, once they take the pledge, she reminds them to go online and change their status to British so that they can vote in the next elections, whenever they may be. And I do hope that this continues and is never changed. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Maggie Browning, you have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I wasn't planning on speaking and I haven't written a speech, so I'll be very brief. But I thought as a politics A-level teacher, I was just really keen to show my support for this motion. I'd like to thank Councillor Dalton and Councillor Van Bay, one of my former politics students, for bringing this motion, and the Migrant Democracy Project for being here this evening. And I hope we can get a photo with you before you head home. Thank you for staying till the end. We're very grateful. I think voting is so central to belonging. It's so central to being part of a society and really kind of having a stake in that. And if you look at voting statistics, the sort of people often with like the least say are like the least likely to vote. So people on the lowest incomes, younger people, where those intersect, they are the least likely to vote. And then I think that probably also sort of maps out onto migrant communities as well. So I really fully support this motion. And I think in the borough, we do a lot to really kind of encourage people to register to vote, to make sure that the processes are really robust and clear. And I'm really supportive of it. So thank you very much for the motion being brought, and I fully support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Irina von Vance, you've got 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also didn't expect to speak, but I'm so happy that I can, because this is a topic close to my heart, and it's also one where I'm really happy to show maybe to the public it's not all adversarial. We really do agree on some things wholeheartedly. I also happen to teach politics. I'm also happy to have a politics student from King's College here in the audience, and I'm also very proud to be a mentor for the Migrant Democracy Project, which has done a fabulous job. I just wanted to add to what other people have said, that I'm one of the 40% who was born outside of this country, as you may hear by my accent. I do believe that both EU and citizens of the rest of the world should have the same rights to vote here at the local elections. And just maybe to add one thing to what Councillor Smith mentioned earlier, which is the eligibility for voting in general elections, for which of course you have to have citizenships. That's quite all right. But as Councillor Smith mentioned, it just doesn't cost a little bit of money. It actually costs over £1,500 per person to get naturalized. That is a tax on voting, which was introduced by the Conservatives in order to keep people who don't have £1,500 in their back pocket away from the ballot boxes. And we need to change that, and we need to enable people to vote, not just at local level, but if they choose to become citizens and if they're eligible, to be able to vote in general elections. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sam Dalton, to reply, you have 3 minutes to speak. Oh, sorry. Jasmine, I forgot. Councillor Jasmine Ali, you have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I won't speak for long. I just wanted to say a huge thank you to the Migrant Democracy Project and to my colleagues, Councillor Sam Dalton and Councillor Joseph Van Bay, for bringing this. I could see my team my team is in the audience again, and this is definitely something that we can get behind. I mean, we are so proud to be Borough of Sanctuary. We know that over 40% of people that live here in Southwark weren't even born in the UK. We are so diverse. We're proud. We've been exemplary, you know, in our public health efforts. You know, everybody basically uses what we've done here, you know, replicates that around the country. Councillor Mugwanji was being exemplary, making us the first Library of Sanctuary. And I think really, with the third highest number of refugees in London, I think it's expected really that we come to government with this and we get behind it. And, you know, that's all I wanted to say really, that we want to get behind it. And yeah, let's do it really. Huge thanks to the Migrant Democracy Project and my colleagues.
Thank you. Councillor Sam Dalton, to reply, you have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you. Yeah, I won't add too much more, but just say thank you for all the excellent contributions from both parties that we had. Great to see cross-party support for this motion this evening. I think it's really an issue that sort of brings together the international, the national and the local, you know, what it means for EU citizens on the international side of things. Nationally, there's obviously this inequality between Scotland and Wales and England and Northern Ireland. So we're trying to equalise that, and locally we've had some great contributions on why this means so much for Southwark as a borough of sanctuary. So thank you everybody for the support for the motion. In the motion, we are committing to push this to national government, to write to secretaries of state and ministers about this. So we will be doing that, and let's hope we can get somewhere with it. Thank you.
Thank you. I shall now move to the vote on motion 2. Those in favor of motion 2.
It's unanimous, Madam Mayor.
The substantive motion is carried. We are now moving to motion 3.
Different slots. Having taken further advice and on further reflection, I also need to declare a disclosable pecuniary interest for motion 3 and its amendments, as well as motion 4, for the same reason as before, which is that I'm employed by Unison as the social care lead. So I'll need to leave for both this motion and motion 4.
Thank you. Maggie, please, Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to clarify that Councillor Mills has had to head home. So I know she declared an interest in motion 4 and would have declared one in motion 3, but she's just had to leave. So she's not present, just in case you're wondering.
Thank you. Now, we are moving to motion 3, a fair deal for Southwark's carers. Councillor Nick Johnson to move motion 3. You have 5 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. You cannot imagine how exhilarating it is to get the opportunity to propose a motion that you had been assured would not be debated because the guillotine would have fallen. And so perhaps I may not have prepared a speech in quite the level of detail that I would normally do. Honestly, I normally rely on the windbaggery of this place, but you've let me down badly. I will do my best. The Carers Trust estimates, I had some information which has slid to me at the last moment. The Carers Trust estimates there are at least 1 million young carers aged 17 or under in the UK, and over 600,000 young adult carers between 18 and 25. In our own borough, 90 young carers are formally identified by the Department of Education. There is a strong belief that that is a significant underestimate of what the reality is. We know that young carers must on average 23 school days a year. This has a significant impact for everyone, which is why I would encourage everyone, I'm moving swiftly in the speech, why I would encourage everyone to seriously consider supporting our motion. Thank you. I haven't finished yet. There's more. I would encourage you to sign up the Young Carers Covenant, sign up to it, published by the Carers Trust in March of 24. Work alongside all schools and colleges to deliver young carer awareness training for staff, and encourage schools and colleges to provide guidance for young carers, as well as providing assembly plans and awareness raising materials. There is more, but I'm actually going to leave you with the words of the immortal Lena Cherry from our iconic 1989 album, Raw Like Sushi, which some of you at least will be old enough to be aware of and possibly like. It's a great hip hop, rap, R&B fusion album, really, including such great songs as The Buffalo Stance and Inner City Mama. However, in the album, in the song The Next Generation, she has the lines, "Society's got its priorities wrong. Children are the chosen one." I will leave it at that. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Maria Linford Hall to second motion 3. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I fully support the urgent need for greater recognition and support for carers in Southwark, particularly young carers who face immense challenges balancing their education, well-being, and responsibilities at home. Carers play a crucial role in our community, yet they are often overlooked in policy and funding decisions. Young carers deserve better. The statistics present in this motion are deeply concerning, with young carers missing an average of 23 school days per year and young adult carers being 4 times more likely to drop out of education. It is clear that the futures are at risk without better support. Identifying only 90 young carers in Southwark is likely a vast underestimation of the true number, meaning many children and young people are struggling in silence. I strongly support the call for Southwark Council to sign up to the Young Carers Covenant and to work with the schools and colleges to ensure young carers get the recognition and practical help that they need. No child should have to choose between caring for loved ones and securing their own future. The social care crisis must be tackled head on. The crisis in social care is undeniable. The NHS is under extreme strain, and much of this is due to chronic underfunding in social care, leaving unpaid carers in fill gaps. The government's inaction on this issue is deeply disappointing. The decision to increase employers' national insurance contributions will place an even greater burden on social care providers, costing the sector nearly £1 billion next year. This will only lead to further staff shortages, services cuts, and increased pressure on underpaid carers. Rather than delaying action until 2028, I join calls for the immediate establishment of National Care Service, ensuring predictable long-term funding for social care. Additional and emergency health and care budget must be introduced to prioritize social care reform. Accepting social care providers from the planned national insurance increase is a vital step to preventing further collapse to the system.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
Sorry, the conclusion is left. Oh no, I can raise, sorry, the conclusion. The final security, well-being and future of Southwark carers must be a priority. I urge Southwark Council to take immediate steps to supporting young carers, challenges and the government demanding tax rises for social care providers and demand urgent action on social care reform. Our carers deserve not just words, but meaningful action. Thank you.
Thank you. The guillotine has now fallen. The remaining motions are therefore deemed to have been formally moved and seconded. We shall now move to the vote on the motion and amendments. Vote on Amendment C. Motion to a fair deal for Southwark carer. Those in favor of Amendment C? Those against? No abstention. The amendment is carried. I shall now move to vote on motion 3. A fair deal for Southwark carers. Those in favor of motion 3 as amended?
40, Madam Mayor.
Those against? Any abstentions?
10, Madam Mayor.
The substantive motion is carried. Now we move into motion 4, a National Care Service for England. We are going on to move to vote on Amendment D. Those in favor of Amendment D?
10, Madam Mayor.
Those against?
40, Madam Mayor.
The amendment is lost. I shall now move to the vote on motion 4. Those in favor of motion 4 as amended?
No, it's not amended, Madam.
Oh, sorry.
Not amended.
Oh, sorry, not amended. Apologies. Those in favor of motion 4? Those against? Any abstention? The substantive motion is carried. We are now moving to vote on Amendment E. Constitutional changes on neighborhood program.
One more thing. We want to get Councillor Redwood back into the.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah, perfect. Now we're moving to vote on Amendment E, constitutional changes, neighborhood program. Did I move it? Oh, oh, sorry. The guillotine has now fallen. We have 15 minutes to debate the report. This item is deemed to be formally moved. There is one amendment to this report. Councillor Emily Tester to move Amendment E. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. You'll be very pleased to know I'm not going to make you sit through 3 minutes of why I wouldn't join the Labour Party. I just wanted to say that on the face of it, the reforms that are outlined in this report do seem positive. I was particularly happy to see that we're looking at reforming the current multi-ward forum system and community champion system, because frankly, they're kind of failing to do what they actually set out to do at the moment and should be doing. I'm not entirely sure I could name what our community champions have actually been doing over the last 3 years that I've been a councillor, other than chairing some meetings. Unfortunately, the detail is quite disappointing in a lot of places and deeply unfair in others. The boundaries have not chosen have not been consulted on and seem to be arbitrarily small in some places and zero changes in others. The fact that Old Kent Road ward has its own neighbourhood in these plans, but wards in the north effectively see no change despite also seeing huge levels of development, is nothing short of a democratic deficit. We want to use this as a positive opportunity for change to genuinely empower our communities. This amendment does that by making smaller changes to these plans, such as allowing wards to select their own champions, but also in the longer term moves us towards real community councils that have real powers. Let's back our communities, put trust and power back into the hands of those who have most at stake, the people that vote for us. I second motion 2. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor David Watson to second Amendment E. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So Liberal Democrats are passionate about devolution and empowering communities through local decision-making. We believe vehemently that residents and communities know best about their neighbourhoods and should be genuinely empowered to make decisions about what, when and where things happen in their areas. Our concern is that this initiative is wasting the opportunity to do just that. Rather, it's just a rebranding exercise. The reforms in the report keep the community champions roles, which are not chosen by their communities and certainly do not champion them. During the biggest changes to our community, those that will fundamentally change the nature of the built environment and put huge, incredible strains on local services, those community champions have been absent. On planning, our communities desperately need championing. Local people struggle to navigate an impenetrable planning system and face rich developers, their lawyers and PR firms. I'm consistently impressed by residents who take on those developers valiantly, as I'm sure many other colleagues across this chamber are. But the reality is they are staggeringly outmatched. This is where a genuine community or neighbourhood champion could bolster efforts and fight residents' corners. That would be hugely welcome. But what we have here instead is no new money, no new powers, no accountability, just slightly different borders in some places. Our amendment to this report is pretty simple, but it has the potential to start the progress towards using this programme to genuinely give communities more of a say. Selecting these neighbourhood champions on a ward level, requiring that they report back on what they've done, consulting on the proposed boundaries, and actually asking people what powers they want over their area, and exploring bringing back the system of community councils that was in place under the previous Liberal Democrat administration. There's a real opportunity for positive change here, so I urge all councillors to support this amendment, and I second Amendment E. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any other member wish to speak on the report on or Amendment E? I've got Joseph Vambe here. Yeah. Anybody else? No. Okay. Councillor Vambe, you have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And despite what you've just heard, we are very excited about these constitutional changes that are being made for the Neighbourhoods Programme. Because as you've just heard, we are a diverse borough, and that diversity of our borough is both our strength and our challenge. It means that we have to take seriously our engagement methods, look hard at how we empower all our communities to become community leaders, to receive our support, and to be able to contribute to the future of their area in tangible, meaningful ways. That's why we are reforming what was until now known as the multi-ward forums to what will now be called the Neighbourhoods Programme. Part of being people-powered and community-driven is getting simple stuff right, like geography, recognizing where people live, and most importantly, where they say they live. That's why we are outlining 10 neighborhoods that reflect the identity and geography of this beautiful borough in line with what our residents say and feel. These 10 neighborhoods will be complemented by 5 neighborhood champions who will be advocates for their neighborhoods and leaders in empowering communities and community-led projects. These constitutional changes, however, are just the beginning of the reforms we are proposing to what was previously known as the multi-ward forums. And over the next few months, we will be developing community plans for each neighborhood with residents, and we will also be developing a participatory framework that empowers residents, both when applying for grants or funding, but also for community projects and, crucially, in decision making. This is exciting. As one of my colleagues said at our decision-making meeting last night, I think it was Councillor Hickson, and I agree with her. The opportunity to support the community and community-led projects is one of our favourite responsibilities we get as councillors. It's a massive opportunity, but it's also one we must develop carefully, and we have to get it right, so we can ensure all communities feel entitled, included, and engaged with us as their local council. And that's why we are proposing these changes. I read the Liberal Democrat amendment and 2 words stood out to me: reform and consultation. We are reforming the multi-ward forums, and that's literally what this constitutional changes are about. And we will be consulting with residents in each neighbourhood as we develop standout community plans for each neighbourhood. And of course, you will be part of that consultation and those conversations. And so I hope, as I've clarified what these constitutional changes are about, that we will get unanimous approval for these changes. Please support this change. Thank you.
Kieran William.
No one else wants anyone else to speak at this time of night, so I'll be very brief. I was just reflecting on the words that were said a few moments ago by the opposition group, that the community champions are not chosen by the community and they're not representative. And I thought, well, they are, like, they're elected by the community, and then the councillors who those people have elected then get to choose them. And it reminded me of some words I'd read earlier today. They said, I've been a member of the Liberal Democrats for 15 years, but feel that their commitment to inclusion and representation is tokenistic, and the party has a long way to go to understand the diverse community in Southwark and our capital city in particular. I believe that the lack of community connection and failure to engage locally is one of the key reasons why the Liberal Democrats are in decline in Southwark and other urban areas. The words of your own former councillor.
Thank you. I shall now move to the vote on Amendment E to the report. Those in favour of Amendment E?
Madam Mayor.
Those against? No abstention. The amendment is lost. I shall now move to the vote on the report recommendations. Those in favour of the report recommendations as amended? As amended.
No, not amended.
Oh, sorry, it's not amended. It's past 10 anyway, that's why. We need to be quick.
41,
Those against?
10, Madam Mayor.
Any abstention? I didn't put up my hand, did I? The guillotine has now fallen. We have 15 minutes to debate the report.
The recommendations.
The recommendation, the recommendation are carried. I'm sure it's almost my last day anyway. Apologies. The guillotine has now fallen. We have 15 minutes to debate the report. This item is deemed.
Want to say the heading, the pay policy statement.
Actually,
Say the heading.
oh, I love you.
You can't.
We are moving to item 6.2, pay policy statement 2025-26. The guillotine has now fallen. We have 15 minutes to debate the report. This item is deemed to be formally moved. Do any members wish to speak on this item? Each member has 3 minutes to speak. None. Well done. I shall now move to the vote to the report recommendations. Those in favor of the report recommendation.
Unanimous, Madam Mayor.
The substantive motion is carried. Item 6.3, Members' Allowance Scheme 2025-26 and adjustment of members' allowance in line with national local government officer pay settlement. The guillotine has now fallen. We have 15 minutes to debate the report. This item is deemed to be formally moved. There is one amendment to this report. Councillor Jane Salmon to move Amendment F. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We are once again moving this amendment to slim down and reduce the number of SRAs. I just want to be clear that we do, of course, support the principle of councillor allowances and SRAs. They ensure that people from all walks of life, regardless of their economic background, can participate in local democracy. This is something that Southwark Liberal Democrats wholeheartedly support. However, while we agree with the principles behind these allowances, we believe it is our duty to ensure that they genuinely reflect the time commitment and value for money that residents rightly expect. That is why we have once again proposed a series of amendments to the scheme, amendments that remain fully in line with London Council's guidance, but aim to bring greater fairness and accountability. In total, our proposed changes would save the council $350,000 a year. This is not an insignificant sum. It is money that could be redirected to frontline services to support our most vulnerable residents or to invest in the future of our borough. But this is not just about saving money, it's also about accountability. At the present, there is no requirement for councillors in receipt of SRAs to report back on how they are spending their time or what they are delivering in return for these allowances. That is why our amendment would require reports to be delivered every year for those on SRAs outlining what they have achieved and their plans for the future. This is not about undermining the important work that councillors do. It is about ensuring that our allowances system is fair, transparent and accountable. I move Amendment F.
Thank you. Councillor Graham Neil to second Amendment F. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll be as quick as I can. Madam Mayor, we have a responsibility to ensure that public money is spent and used fairly, efficiently and transparently. The opposition group here, our proposal will make our allowances system more accountable while delivering substantial savings. £3,500 per year that can be better spent on services. Did I say £3,500,000 per year that can be better spent on services for Southwark residents? First, the new cap on the total SRA budget for cabinet positions, brings spending in line with a more streamlined leadership structure, which is the equivalent of funding 3.5 full-time cabinet members and a deputy leader, ensuring we maintain effective leadership while cutting unnecessary costs. Next, we're making sensible adjustments to the SRA grades. The community champion role will move from 1B to 1A. The vice chair of planning and deputy cabinet members will no longer receive SRAs, aligning allowances with real responsibilities and duties. Key committee chairs, overview and scrutiny, planning and licensing will be regraded to 1B rather than the higher 2B proposed by the administration, ensuring a fairer distribution of funds. But financial savings are only one part of the solution, Madam Mayor. Transparency is just as important. That's why every councillor receiving the SRA would be required to submit an annual report outlining their work. This would ensure accountability to the public so residents know exactly what their money is paying for. Madam Mayor, these changes will make our system fairer, more transparent and more cost effective. I urge colleagues to support this amendment. Thank you.
Do any members wish to speak on report or amendment F? I have Councillor Cryan and yeah, you have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I also want to pass on my thanks for your year as Mayor, and it's an honour to be your ward councillor as well. I think you've been exemplary and shown future mayors how to do the job well. So 24 months ago, in March 2023, we all stood here in a rare moment of unity and agreed the Diverse Council's Charter. And we did it because we all believed that diversity makes for better decision making. And I just want to read out 2 of those recommendations, those commitments that we made 2 years ago. One is to ensure that all members take up the allowances and salaries to which they're entitled, and that all members receive fair remuneration for their work, and that the role of member is not limited to those who can afford it. The other thing that we agreed was that ensuring that councillors for underrepresented groups are represented whenever possible in high profile, high influence roles. And that's important because diversity matters. It doesn't only make for better decision making, it enables a path for our diverse communities to see the role they can take in shaping their borough, in making the decisions and the policies that shape our borough. And I'm really sorry, guys, but your amendment actually pushes that back. It pushes that back. It's a regressive one. It risks council chambers becoming increasingly paler and predominantly mailer. And that is not the way we want to go in terms of politics. Because if you're not paying people adequately to be able to carry out those roles, if you're not giving people the positions to be able to lead and show their communities they're leading, it is regression. Now, you talk about being progressive. This is the opposite of that. Councillor Williams stole my thunder because he read out what I was going to read out as well. But I just want to read out another part of that statement, actually, if I can get it up and read it in very small writing with my contact lenses in. And I've lost it. Here we go. Oh, gosh, sorry about this. Anyway, basically, your former colleague welcomed the Labour Party. I'm going to paraphrase it a bit. He welcomed the Labour Party. He said that he felt that Labour did champion our communities, that Labour did put diversity and communities at its heart. You know, I understand what you're saying. I understand you feel that, you know, I actually, there's one part of your amendment that I do agree with. I don't think we should reduce the Leader of the Opposition's SRA. I don't believe we should reduce the overview and scrutiny SRA. I do wonder, though, why you do recommend reducing the Labour Vice Chair, removing the Labour Vice Chair of Planning's SRA, whilst keeping the Liberal Democrat Vice Chair of Overview and Scrutiny's SRA. I think that sort of answers itself. But I do think that, you know, I think you need to think about this. I think you need to think about the unintended consequences of this amendment. The unintended consequences is that you push back diversity. You push back the people who want to come and represent their communities because they will not be able to do so if they're not seeing that they are welcoming leadership roles. That's what your amendment does. I think we should be recommending this pay scheme for the coming year. It is in line with the IPR's recommendations. It is what is recommended.
Your time is up. Thank you. Councillor Edwards, you have 3 minutes to speak.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I was listening with interest to the contributions that have been made about the amendment, talking about these reports that SRA holders should give, and this would somehow create transparency and accountability. I don't know if you've noticed where we are and what we're doing right now. We're in a public meeting in which we are discussing policies, reports, papers that are publicly available, that we've all read, hopefully, and we've been debating them all evening. And in scrutiny committees, in audit and governance, and all the other council committees, that's what we do, right? So the accountability for the chairs of the committees, the cabinet members, all the people who hold the SRAs, they happen in those public council meetings. And that happens on an ongoing basis throughout the year. So That's where the transparency and accountability happens. And that's where all councillors, including Liberal Democrat councillors, should be turning up, doing the hard yards, making sure you're reading the papers, making sure you're coming prepared, making sure that you are holding people to account in those meetings. We don't need another level of bureaucracy to be introduced. That doesn't create transparency and accountability. That's just something for you to put in an amendment to a motion. So it's a silly idea. Let's admit it's a silly idea. Let's get rid of it and vote for the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. I shall now move to the vote on Amendment F to the report. Those in favor of Amendment F,
10, Madam Mayor.
those against,
41, Madam Mayor.
amendment is lost. I shall now move to the vote on the report recommendation on item 6.3. On members allowance scheme 2025-26 and adjustment of members allowance in line with national local government officer pay settlement. Those in favor of report recommendation,
41, Madam Mayor.
those against,
10, Madam Mayor.
no abstention. The substantive motion is carried. Item 6.4, Special Agency and Agent Implementation Decision Annual Report 2025. The gelatin has now fallen. We have 15 minutes to debate the report. This item is deemed to be formally moved. Do any members wish to speak on this item?
None, Madam Mayor.
I shall now move to the vote on recommendation on item 6.5. Those in favor of the report recommendation,
Unanimous, Madam Mayor.
the substantive motion is carried. Item 6.5, Gambling Act 2005, a renewal of statement of gambling licensing policy 2025 to 2028. Please, yeah?
No, go on.
Yeah. The gelatin has now fallen. We have 15 minutes to debate the report. This item is deemed to be formally moved. Do any members wish to speak on this item?
Councillor Hambers.
Yeah, you have 3 minutes to speak, please.
As it's so late, I'm definitely not. I could ramble on about licensing policies for hours, but I'm not because it's very late. So all I'm going to say is thank you. Thank you to the officers who worked on this report and also to the members of the licensing committee who discussed this report and passed it. And I hope everybody passes it today. Thank you.
I shall now move to the vote on report recommendation. Those in favor of the report recommendation,
Unanimous, Madam.
it's obviously carried. 6.6, Council Assembly date and calendar of meeting 2025-2026. The gelatin has now fallen. We have 15 minutes to debate the report. This item is deemed to be formally moved. Do any members wish to speak on this item?
Madam Mayor.
I shall now move to the vote to the report recommendation. Those in favor of the report recommendation?
Unanimous, Madam Mayor.
Amazing. Thank you. And that was the last item of the business tonight for Ordinary Council Assembly. Hold on, we still have our extraordinary meeting. It's not gonna take so long. Okay. The extraordinary meeting has now commenced. We need to go through the apologies.
Apologies are same as for the ordinary.
Yeah,
meeting.
the apologies are the same as the ordinary meeting.
Plus Councillor Mill.
And
including Councillor Mill.
okay. Councillor Marion.
Yeah, Councillor
Oh,
Mill
yeah,
has been
mention him,
yeah.
including Councillor Marion. Do any members wish to make any declaration of interest?
None, Madam.
Item 2, freedom of the borough nomination. The recommendation for nomination of freedom of the borough are formally moved. There are 3 nominations listed in supplemental agenda number 1. Do any members wish to speak on this item? If any member wish to speak on individual in this report, the meeting will need to go into closed session. If not, this report can be agreed by acclaim without going into closed session. That's the quickest one, yeah? We will now move. Yeah? Oh, we have. All right, that's amazing. We still have another 10 minutes, I think. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, I have to joke anyway a bit because it's my last day. Thank you so much. That was the last item of the business tonight for the Council Assembly. And have a lovely night. Thank you.